Good morning, beautiful people. It is Thursday, August 20th, 2020, and it's a great day to be alive. Last night, I made my in-ring promo debut with the NXT on USA Network, and I was flanked by a fleet of incredible men. The one sitting right to my right, you saw him giving facial expressions as if he was ready to go to battle with anybody. Former Super Bowl champion, Mr. AJ Hawk. Attaboy, AJ.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? It was a fun situation. I'm glad. Thank you for letting me play a little part of it.
Yeah, well, you weren't just a little part of it, by the way. You were a massive part of it, especially with that jawline. A lot of people on the internet were talking about how could you not be intimidated if you see that jawline staring at you right in the eyes. And on the other side, a man who is wearing a sleeveless hoodie right next to me, who is potentially, that's a potentially a little bit of an upsetting move, but I feel good about my arm, so I'm not even going to talk about it.
You look jacked, by the way.
Thank you. I didn't get a pump in here. Normally I wake him up. You know what I mean? Normally I wake him up before getting in. I didn't get a chance to do that because I was out here tidying up some things last minute.
Yeah.
You were out. You saw what was going on out there.
Yeah.
But Darius Butler, absolute stud of a human, was drafted by the New England Patriots, played for the Colts for a long time. Now he is co-host of the Man to Man podcast and Everything DB, where he breaks down secondary for football fans who don't get a chance to hear it. D-But last night, there was a couple moments during that show where I think you would have jumped over the ropes and fought a person.
I was ready.
Yeah, absolutely. He was saying he did some disrespectful stuff to me throughout this entire thing.
When he hit those security dudes, I was.
Hey, little Jackie Chan,
okay.
By the way,
whoa,
dead,
See ya.
dead, right in front of my face. By the way, as I was standing around those security people, I thought I could potentially do that to all of them as well. So that is why.
True.
I mean, definitely shocked, but he was lucky that security was even there to begin with, because if that security's not there and he's walking towards me, there's a good chance I'd knock him out right there. We don't even get to Saturday.
It's over.
People forget about that type of thing. I'm never getting credit for that. Last night was awesome, though. And now we're 2 days into the fight with Adam Cole at NXT TakeOver 30, WWE Network. I'll tell you what, I got a chance to talk last night a little bit. Obviously, that's what I do for a living. I enjoy the hell out of that. Mm-hmm. I cannot wait to get into the ring. I cannot wait to get into the ring with Adam Cole on Saturday. And I think people are going to be shocked by what they see there.
Yeah.
Because this thing's going to be over in potentially 6 seconds. I mean, I don't know how quickly I can swing the leg, but all we need is a 1, 2, 3. That's 6 seconds, probably 7 seconds. I'm trying to end this within a minute, AJ, because my cardio is so damn good. People know that if this goes the distance, it's better for me than it is for Adam Cole, right?
I guess, but don't you think he knows? Like, he's a vet. He knows all these little tricks.
Yeah.
What's he going to circle, try to tire you out? You know, hey, just stay away from him. Like, stay away from that right leg, that right foot is probably what they're telling him.
What if this is the Floyd Mayweather-Conor McGregor thing, okay, where everybody on earth, okay, knew that Floyd Mayweather was going to win? Because if you know boxing and all, it's like, hey, this is a different level of cardio. This is a different level of conditioning. Even if Conor is a great boxer, and they said, even if Conor is a great boxer who has never boxed before, by the way, but even if he is a great boxer, world-class boxer like Floyd, he just won't be able to last. And then 10 rounds he lasted, and everybody was like, well, maybe he will be able. And then all of a sudden, 11th round, I believe it started going downhill for him, and then Floyd just ended it. That's what you're thinking Adam Cole is thinking? Well, I want to let you know, Adam Cole, I've been on a Stairmaster for 6 months straight, okay? I'm in the best shape of my life. Look, I can hold my breath longer than Michael Phelps right now. Just know that. So you should try to get this thing over with quickly, too, because if it goes long, it's not good for you. Ain't that right?
I guess that is. I'll have to ponder that one for a little bit, right, Pat? Can you hold your breath as long as David Blaine? I know he's out pubbing some hot air balloon situation. I think he said he can hold his breath for 20 minutes, 19 minutes or something.
I believe him.
I have never been.
Seems like he can do anything.
I had never been built for a long time. Okay, only a good time. That is literally the way it is.
Get it over real quick.
That's why this has to be over quick. And I think he's going to want to. I think he's going to want to tangle rather quickly as well, it feels like. We have hated each other for 3 years. A lot of people have made a lot of comments about this entire thing, but literally since day one of meeting that man, I've hated him and he has hated me. It's just, and normally, by the way, people like me after meeting me. Like, not meeting me, hate me. That is just something that happens. After meeting me, they're like, okay, so he is like that all the time. That is just kind of how it is. Him and I, first time, maybe since like elementary school, where I met somebody, I was like, oh, I hate that guy. Well, he hates me too. Good. This is a very mutual feeling. I'm happy we both feel this way. Now we get a chance to settle it on Saturday. At Boston, Connor's here as well. Celtics, your Celtics last night. Dominant win over the Sixers, who seem to be the most up and down team in the history of basketball, maybe. Good players, not going to be able to ever figure it out. But the Celtics, without Hayward, are able to get a big win there.
Yeah, I mean, you say the Sixers are up and down, but they're just down. They're not a good basketball team. We've beaten them like 3 years in the playoffs in a row. And Embiid said it last year. This isn't a rivalry because they always beat us. So this is expected for sure. But also the Bruins closed out. I mean, I think Boston sports actually know that it's fight week, and we haven't lost one time since it started.
Oh, and also the Cam Newton dancing videos coming out.
Oh, yeah, and Stidham. We got a platoon of quarterbacks now. I mean, everything's going fantastic.
All right, let's dive into that since your loud ass had to get into it. Connor, diehard Boston sports fan, so, I mean, he has lived just a plush life for like the last 20 years.
It's been good.
Just Red Sox were winning.
Sports city.
Oh, my God. Red Sox were winning.
Since 01.
Bruins were winning.
Yep.
I mean, the Patriots obviously were winning. These kids have just lived this life of incredible spoiled luxury.
All 4 major sports. Already seen a championship, but I can die a happy man already.
Okay. All right.
With all the parades?
Oh, yeah, I went to all of them. I missed 2, actually.
Well, because there's so many of them.
Well,
You can
yeah,
miss
there's so
2
many.
parades.
I missed 2,
I
actually.
missed
Wow.
yeah, my first
Wow.
2. Yeah, it's a bummer, but what are you going to do?
Tom leaves. Tom's not happy. Everybody thinks, all right, Patriots are dead.
He changed.
They don't have any salary cap, whatever you think it is. No salary cap room. They can't make any moves. Nobody's going to want to go play for Bill if they don't have Tom. People are going to chase Tom for the ring chasing. Then 86 days, a guy is left unemployed, and Bill comes in and signs him for minimum vet min. Now, granted, there's incentives up there and everything like that, and that player was just so happened an MVP candidate just a couple years ago. Now he's healthy again, and he's pissed. Cam Newton, videos are coming out of Cam Newton dancing at practice, which everybody thought would never happen with Bill Belichick. Then he's still posting on social media. It doesn't seem like he's changed at all, which nobody thought would be able to happen with Bill Belichick. But you're seeing a new Bill Belichick and a new Cam Newton. You're friends with Cam. You know Cam rather well, right?
Yep.
Okay, Cam, did you expect him to go in there and try to change it all, or is this exactly what you expected for Cam? Because it feels like Cam, he's obviously changed a little bit. He's not doing as much posting because he's focused on learning football. It's training camp. Things change from off-season when you're unemployed to whenever you get employed. But it feels like Cam is being Cam, and Bill's letting him. You were drafted by the Patriots. You're in that building. You know Cam very well. Yep. Did you see that type of thing happening?
I saw it working from the jump, and I know Bill obviously knew what he was getting in Cam. You know what I mean? It's not like he's just coming into the league. Like, we've seen who Cam is. He's in a different spot than he's ever been in the league. Obviously, you know, been the #1 overall pick, national champ, Heisman, and then now you're unemployed for 86 days. Like, that's a huge, like, kind of, you know, reality check. And it kind of smacks you in the face, put that chip on the shoulder. I think we're going to get that Cam and Belichick.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, and McDaniels, right? And
only thing I worry about is all those guys who opted out. Because now it's like, damn, you know, if they go and have a freaking 6-10 season, like, you know.
Defensive side of the ball, right?
Yeah,
the defense, they've been looking good, but they're also the ones that opted out, I think, right?
Hightower, Chung.
Yeah.
Like big names on the defense side.
But I heard Duggar's having a good camp so far.
Very good camp so far.
Who's that?
He was
the
the
second-round pick from, I think, Lenore Ryan.
Oh, yeah, his dog drafted this guy.
Yes, yeah.
I remember that, and everybody talked about how bad it was. Yesterday, Bill Belichick spoke about having a platoon QB, and then he said
It's a lie.
Yes, completely a lie. A platoon of QBs, because if you have 2 QBs,
you got no QBs.
You have no QBs. But
Bears.
Taysom Hill, whatever. Hey, Mitch is a whole new man, they said.
Oh, yeah.
Mitch has new body language and everything. They brought in Nick Foles just to make Mitch the new guy or whatever.
Happy birthday, Mitch, by the way.
Anyways, platoon. Happy birthday to Mitch, by the way. Happy birthday to him. I hope you have a great day, man, whatever is going on. But the platoon of QBs. If you were going to play against a team that has a platoon of QBs, A, do you know that is just a complete lie from Bill Belichick just getting out of the question? Or B, is that something that they're going to have to think about with Stidham and Cam Newton and maybe Hoyer even comes in and throws a couple picks?
No, they don't need to think about it. They don't need to think about it. Cam's going to be the guy. Of course, it's Bill Belichick. It's the Patriots. Every job is on the line. You have to say we're all fighting for a job. But no, Cam's going to be the dude. Like, that's why you signed him.
What did he say? He's an offset overload. What was the
7? He said a couple.
We'll do a double.
6 linemen, 7 linemen, overload left, double overload left.
Yeah, a couple of double overloads.
Can't believe he's even talking that much. All these long answers. I feel like the longer that Bill answer, the deeper the lie. Yeah, no, I'm not buying any of it.
Well,
man.
he talked long about Cam Newton the other day
and loud, and he was actually projecting his voice a little bit.
Couldn't Bill try to, like, not, I guess, change, but show a little bit more personality? We see what happens with Tom. Tom steps away from New England. He goes to the Howard Stern interview. He's very open and honest.
Yeah.
All of this. Don't you think Bill could be like, hey, I can progress and morph too. Like, look at me, I'm evolving with the times. Like, I have a funny, cool personality under all of this.
I would assume that. By the way, I've heard that from everybody that's ever
He
played
does.
this. Yeah,
He's actually hilarious. He has a really dry sense of humor, but he's actually pretty funny.
I've heard that from every person that's ever played there.
Don't you think Linda? It's Linda, right? His longtime girlfriend. Who's always
yeah,
with him?
Linda.
Don't you think she's
Linda?
probably like, Bill, I wish everyone got to see the Bill I get to see.
And then, by the way, we saw that start to happen a couple years ago.
Randy?
Whenever the Randy Moss Halloween party, that's a long time ago. But a couple years ago, he was at that Minnesota Timberwolves game sitting courtside with a fedora hat on, okay, smiling at the Jumbotron, waving, walking out. I'm like, what is this guy? What is this right here? Then you got the punters or the offensive lineman catching punts and practice. You got like this whole thing happening, and now he's got Nike the dog making the draft pick. He's hosting a Emmy-nominated show with Rich Eisen on NFL Network. He's doing all these
Subway commercials,
Saban documentary.
By the way, how about him just sitting
Perfect posture.
eating that damn sub sideways a little bit? But I think if you're going to go down as the greatest coach in history, which Bill Belichick will and is,
hell yeah,
I think him flexing that he could coach any style or him being able to adapt with the times, I think would be something that Bill Belichick would definitely want to accomplish. And if you change your offense a little bit with Cam, by the way, which would be adapting to the new style of football a little bit. Now, I'm not saying Cam is going to be like Lamar.
You got to change your offense.
But they have to change their offense with him. And I would assume there's a lot of packages being put in just for Cam Newton. I assume that everybody's like, well, he's not going to be able to figure out that offense. There's a lot of things that offense. Tom and Josh knew code words that nobody else knew. It's like if you think they're just going to pick up Tom's offense and just give that to Cam, well, you don't understand how the Patriots have operated, for the last 20 years.
Yep.
That is literally not what they do. They change their game plan week to week. Is that a real thing that happens? What does that mean, they change their game plan week to week, and is that not normal? Like, is that not a normal thing?
You know what? Coaches have their things that they like to stick to, and, we're all kind of creatures of habit. So I would say you morph your game plan more in New England than anywhere else. It's just like you saw when they would come and play us. If they can run the ball, if they saw a weakness maybe up front or something, they'll run it 45 times. But on the flip side, if they see a weakness in the back end, maybe you got some great guys up front, they'll throw it 50 times. And a lot of coaches, a lot of teams, a lot of coordinators, they kind of stick with their, every week you kind of know, how the Steelers are going to be, how the Falcons are going to be, what kind of offense they have. But New England is kind of like, what's the flavor of the week?
They take what you give them.
Absolutely.
Like I've watched the Patriots put on a clinic against us, I think my first or second year in the league. And I'm like, oh, okay, these guys know all of our weaknesses in this defense we're playing, all the different things that put us in stress. And from the first play, they were doing it. And it happened the whole game. We got beat 48-0. Who knows what the score was, but we never had a chance. And that's what I respect about the Patriots. Like, they're not going to sit there and say, hey, we're a physical downhill running team.
Exactly.
Yeah, we are if you have a light box. But, hey, guess what? If we feel like we have a good matchup, we're going to throw the ball 45
Light
times.
box.
That's
light
why
box.
they're good.
Explain light box.
How many you hear announcers on TV talk about the box? The down lineman, whether you're 3-4, 4-3, you got 4 down linemen in a 4-3, 3 backers behind them. Add that up. That's a 7-man box.
Okay.
You could bring down a safety for an 8-man box. That's a big. If you want to stop the run, hey, try that, buddy. That's going to help.
But then you only have 3 on the back
too.
end.
Yeah, you could have a 6-man box. If you have a light box and you feel like you have a numbers matchup, like if I could run to the left and I have 3-on-2 in the blocking scheme, I'm gonna take it out. I'm gonna give that a chance.
Okay, and do you want to elaborate on what weaknesses they found in your scheme?
Everything. We matched up everything.
Oh no,
we matched up a lot, and yeah, they would. So they would know like little things. Okay, hey, on this early downs, their backers may have the running back man to man, and we don't have anything to switch off. So hey, first play of the game, we're gonna line our running back up at the receiver, and we're gonna make our receiver back in the backfield. And at that time, we didn't really have a check for it, so we got a corner coming in the box to play. He's like, "What am I supposed to do, man?" I'm like, "I don't know. This is terrible. Let's check Tampa 2, please. We need to check zone." But we didn't do that, and a lot of teams will have like a Tampa check. If you're putting stress or something, you have like a zone you can go to to cover up like these matchup issues you're going to have, or if a team's messing with you. They knew we didn't have that at the time, so we just ran around like idiots around the field trying to figure it out.
And I think you told me off air one time, and I'm excited for you to potentially have to say it. He would run that back from one side of the field to the other.
Just mess with you.
And you'd be running gassers basically before the play
Before the
even
snap.
starts. And then
I'm
you're
yelling at their sideline too. Like, I know, I get it. I understand the weakness here. This is garbage. Like, we need to check something. What's happening?
The Patriots, too, I think it was talked about how they switch their defensive game plan sometimes quarter by quarter.
Their personnel,
Oh, yeah.
too.
Yeah.
How do they do that?
You,
Like,
you saw it in the Super Bowl.
yeah, their personnel changes, too. Like, Chris Long, I remember talking to him. He's like, yeah, man, like, some games I had a huge part in it, and then all of a sudden we get to the next game,
Oh, yeah.
and I have, like, I'm playing, like, 4 snaps, and I didn't really even know. Like,
That's the part. That's kind of part of the Patriot, and that's completely different anywhere else as well. You know, if you got a guy on the team that's either drafted somewhere, getting paid a certain amount of money, it's nowhere else in the league where you'll go one Sunday and play 60 snaps, and then the following Sunday, because of the matchup, you're playing 8 snaps, or maybe you're a friggin' healthy scratch. Like it's crazy. Or guys get benched for having a bad 2 days of practice. Like it's very, very different out there.
will Cam Newton thrive in that? Or will Cam Newton, you think, run into it? Because a lot of people now, there's haters of Cam Newton. There just is, and we've run into him a lot because I've been going very, very hard for Cam Newton here on this show, watching his workouts. I'm like, how is this dude not getting signed anywhere? How is this dude not getting signed anywhere? And I've heard the haters in loud abundance on social media. I've seen them. So now they're seeing it potentially work here with New England, right? And they're seeing him listed as co-starter, like 3 days into practice, whenever everybody says that offense is impossible to learn. Then they see him dance. They're like, well, he won't be able to act the way he is. They see him dancing. And then now it's like, well, how long will this last? That's well, how long is this going to last then? It's not going to be the honeymoon phase for a long time. What happens when something doesn't work or whatever? It's like, well, I feel like they're 2 grown men who have the same goals that will be able to hopefully figure it out. But if they don't, it's good for this show and a lot of other shows that get popping. And then, by the way, if they do figure it out, it's great for this show and it's great for a lot of other shows. We just got to hope that there isn't like he's the backup to Jared Stidham. You know?
You never know. Unless Stidham comes out firing, which he might. But how big is it, too, for other players to see Cam Newton being able to act like that? Like, will that motivate guys to be like, maybe I will go play for the Patriots?
Yeah, people want to go play for the Patriots because they want to chase a ring, right? That was why everybody wanted to play for the Patriots. Like, listen, it's not going to be fun, but we're going to go up there and we're going to do this. You see Cam now, it's like, okay, I'm going up here to finish Bill Belichick's legacy with him and potentially win some Super Bowls up here. Ain't that right, AJ?
yeah, I guess, but hey, everybody's not Cam. Everybody can't just line up and sit there and dance and have fun all the time.
Imagine
You got to
me up
know
there.
who you are.
Imagine
yourself.
there in the back of punt. Let's get him. 16 minutes after the hour, we got to get to a break. Chris Ballard will be joining us in 14 minutes of the Indianapolis Colts. His team made a big quarterback change this past offseason. Phillip Rivers got brought in, and he's been mic'd up every day at practice. I'll tell you what, that restraint to say dadgum and fudge and all that stuff, I don't know how you do it, but he seems like he still has that competitive fire that you've always seen. They got a good offensive line. They got a good defense. I'm excited to hear what Chris Ballard has to say about the Colts because that AFC, it seems like it's going to be tough for a long time. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, I mean, Belichick. AFC is going to be tough for a long time. And the Colts are like, last year we were making a run, so our quarterback got hurt. Jacoby, I'm excited to see what happens with Jacoby's career. He was balling last year.
Yeah.
Like, balling out.
He'll get another opportunity.
I think so too. He's gonna have to like sit here and take this one here.
Yeah, he'll get another shot somewhere. He's too young. He's talented. He'll get another shot.
Couldn't they trade him?
Yeah, they trade
New
him.
England, yeah.
I mean, they if I was him, he should be a starter, I think.
Well,
I think
and-
Jacoby's that good.
By the way,
Yeah.
$20 million, I think, salary this year too.
That's
Not
tough
bad.
to trade that.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. But after this year, not.
But if he starts for a team, that's fine. That's
Well, and with COVID, this COVID, if players are going to have to sit out, and you watch Hard Knocks and they're talking about the contact tracing and all that stuff, and guys that are potentially, this room is sick. So if a quarterback gets sick, I mean, and a team is in a real playoff run, I mean, you know what I mean? Like
Need
that
a
is-
backup. Need one.
That is you need a great backup.
Yeah.
So I would
They
assume.
were talking about like quarantining one quarterback, weren't they?
keeping them
it's
separate.
Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, NFL's talking bubble. We'll talk about that on the other side for
okay.
playoffs. Let's not worry about the playoffs, huh? Let's just try to get through the season.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that we're, thinking long term. But if it works all season, why change it? I don't know. I'm kind of torn on the entire thing. I mean, what are we, 6 months?
I just hope it works, man.
I hope so. We need it. 18 minutes after the hour, we're back on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show. There's a grown man with face paint on it. So you're Big Nut.
I am, and you're Little Nut.
Well, I've had a few of those in my life. Hey, I'll tell you what, Big Nut. I hope to find you one day on my wedding night. Big Nut!
Little Nut!
You did a great job, too. The lines are straight. No DUI problem there. You're really doing a great job here, sir. Hey, Big Nut, I love everything you're about, bud.
Because we are going to win the game.
He just spit in my mouth while saying that. The most likely team to make the college football playoff is the team that is in Columbus. He said khakis are way too close to that team from up north. If you don't put black pants on right now, you're going to get booed out of Columbus. So I went with the black. Makes me look thin. And whenever I say 2 letters, the place goes crazy. O-H! Yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie George. That offense, though, led by Justin Fields. He has 41 touchdowns accounted for, only 1 turnover. I don't know how he isn't the Heisman favorite right now.
Well, he certainly has a chance to make a stick at that today, certainly next week.
He's supposed to be at Penn State, didn't he? And Mike McQuarrie told me I wasn't Penn State material.
Okay, Herbie was your quarterback. He was a senior. You were a freshman. What was he like as a teammate?
Oh, he was great, man. Big shoulder pads. Kurt could run for days back in the day.
We have a guy that can break every single bone in my body. Steve, how you doing, boss man? They're down 6-1. She wants to flex on the gram. He says, lady, we are getting slaughtered by the Pittsburgh Penguins. No.
Do I do it too? I feel like I need to do this.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. We'll be joined by General Manager of the Indianapolis Colts, Chris Ballard, in 7 minutes. Muscle and Fitness Magazine had an article with Adam Cole yesterday, and they called us the Indiana Colts. So, Muscle and Fitness.
Yikes.
Take a hike, pal. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Chris Ballard in 7 minutes. Excited to talk to him about how life is during this COVID-19. Does he have a Rolodex of players on deck for when COVID-19 hits and players have to sit out for 10 days? Does he just have like this long list of players like, okay, if we lose 15 guys one week, which, by the way, is possible.
Could happen.
Happened to the Marlins. They lost 22 guys or whatever, and this could definitely happen in football. How do we go about doing that? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about a lot of other things. Can't wait to chat with him. Let's talk NBA. Yesterday, Mavs. Boston Connor here is one of the biggest diehard NBA fans I've ever seen in my life, to be honest with you. Will choose watching an NBA game over anything in his life. He watches it on his phone.
Oh, yeah.
He's sitting in situations on his phone, NBA. Also, D-Bud, big time. Mavs Clippers yesterday. Mavs get a big win. Celtics get a big win yesterday. yesterday. Lakers and LeBron look like he doesn't even want to be there, by the way. And I said that to Darius as soon as he walked in yesterday before we went over the show. I said, hey, LeBron, it doesn't even feel like LeBron even wants to be there. You're kind of getting the same type of feeling, right?
Yeah, I just don't. I'm used to seeing a different Bron. I'm a big Bron guy. So playoffs come, I'm used to zero dark. He's not tweeting now. It's just different in that bubble, man. And Bron hasn't played in a situation like that in a long, long time. Probably since he's been in middle school. So people were kind of giving him that excuse, but turn it up, man. You got to be a killer.
Does it matter? Does he need the fans? So they're saying like not having fans is affecting LeBron more than other players.
Yes, because obviously, LeBron was a different.
Hold on, he's been playing in front of
with
what you just said right there. What you just said, I didn't understand fully what you meant there. Now it's because my first time seeing LeBron was in Pittsburgh. St. Vincent, St. Mary came over, and they played against the Pennsylvania All-Stars. And they sold out the arena in downtown Pittsburgh to watch LeBron play. And by the way, they won. They beat the entire state of Pennsylvania. Their high school team did or whatever.
Sense.
And Bron took off from like the foul line or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, this guy he's only a couple of years older than me, I think. This guy is near the same age as me. And that place was filled out in Pennsylvania. Yeah. So like he's been doing that. I assume AAU tournaments even whenever he's playing, it was everywhere. Now, so that was why whenever it was mentioned about not playing in front of no fans, LeBron actually, his first reaction was, if there ain't fans, I ain't playing or whatever. And then Adam Silver had to come and be like, hey, that might be the only way we play. He's like, oh, well, they'll make the best decision for us to play. Like he had to say that or whatever. But his first reaction was, I don't want to do. I didn't even think about that potentially being quite because it's all just practice in his eyes probably. Like this isn't even a real thing.
And he's still playing great.
I mean, he had triple-double.
Yeah. Broke Magic Johnson's assist record in the playoffs. I mean, he's still playing great, but I just feel like with that team, he's got to go for like 35-plus a night for him to win.
Well, especially if Anthony Davis is going to be minus 20 every single game. I mean, that guy
stunk. Oh, you're bummed. You sound like you're very, very bummed about what the Lakers are doing. Right? I just heard like a deep sigh. Come on, man.
I mean, I'm disappointed in AD. I just, you come in there with two top 5 players, or people call them top 5 players in the league. You're expecting them to dominate, especially 1 versus 8.
So he's not top 5. You just said.
I don't think so.
I just heard that.
Not anymore.
Skill wise, but sports is different. It's not about. It's mental. Like, are you a killer or not?
That's why Damian Lillard, by the way, is not the guy that the Lakers wanted to see in the first round. Also, our guy Terrence Ross goes absolutely ham for the Magic, who are currently over the Bucks. Yeah, not too shabby there. But the NBA playoffs. I think the timing of the games, and we tried to talk about the ratings the other day about how I consume the NBA through Twitter. Like, that's how I consume the NBA. And I feel like I follow along rather closely with the NBA, but I consume it specifically through Twitter. I don't find myself, I'll watch a couple games if it's on at night or whatever, and I'll catch the tail end of games. But they're talking about ratings being down. And maybe the time of the games is also potentially a problem because you kind of get into it. All day, early game, primetime game.
You got a lot of streaming too going on.
But man, I feel like I watched all these games, and I don't think I saw any of them on TV, but maybe a minute and a half. And it was when Luka got slapped in the face yesterday in the Clippers game. That guy is an absolute stud, by the way. He's built like a cousin of mine. It looks like he'd be a cousin of mine. He's unbelievable.
He's a beast. Everyone's kind of comparing him of like a Magic Johnson, Larry Bird hybrid. In the way he plays, he looks so slow, and then he just chucks up these rainbow, like Dirk Nowitzki threes that come in like mortars. Yeah. It is awesome to watch.
You're a big Luka guy.
I love Luka Doncic.
He's amazing.
Really?
He just plays at his own pace. A lot of people compared him to, like you said, Bird, Magic, and a lot of people compared him to Harden now. I don't think he's, obviously not as good as a shooter as Harden, but his game is he just plays at his own pace.
He got slapped in the face yesterday. And they're like, well, they're playing hard on Luka or whatever. And then they said, the commentator, this was the minute and a half that I watched. Yeah. Then the commentator said, the league he came from, they used to like punch each other during things. So like he's very, very used to this. And I think there was a time where the guy looks like Jim Carrey, who's their coach.
Rick Carlisle.
That is
on the button.
Ridiculous. Good for them, by the way. But he was going to sub him out or something, and there's a finger wave from Luka saying, I'm not getting subbed out of there. No. He's got the swag. Yeah. He's got the ability, and now they're tied 1-1 with the Clippers, I do believe. I'm pumped for the NBA playoffs, but I'm not watching it. I just follow it on Twitter. So all those people that are bashing the NBA for like their ratings or whatever, I understand where you're coming from because that is quite a determinant on whether or not people are keeping up with it. I feel like I know everything that's going on via Twitter, and the NBA is going to have to figure that out business-wise. Like, they're going to have to figure that out business-wise, how they can capitalize off of that. But it is a sport that is very different than every other sport, and I think the way it's consumed.
It's global, too. So, even if their ratings are down here, it's other countries where I'm sure they're rating us up. Like we're talking about Luka, like he's probably, one of the biggest global stars that we have in the NBA. So I think the NBA is going to be fine.
They should get Linsanity back.
Bring him in.
Do you remember Linsanity?
That was crazy.
Houston was like, come on, we got Yao Ming's. We already got all the tie-ins over it. Come on, and we know this business. Come on. He had the hottest maybe 6-week run in the history of sports.
Oh, yeah. Maybe. He dropped like 40 or something on Kobe.
How did that happen? Like, what
Somebody
happened?
got hurt. He came in, hits a game winner. He gets hot, hits that game winner in the Garden, which is in New York.
Yes.
Knicks fans see hope for the first time in probably 15 years. And then it just kept going and going and going. And then he got paid, and then it kind of disappeared. I think he's still in the league. I just don't think he's.
So was he, Connor? Was he never really that good, or what was it?
He was pretty solid, but he was never like, we need to build our team around.
Why did
Jeremy
the media
Lin.
jump on it? Why did he become like an overnight superstar?
Because that's what he was.
Yeah, he was a nobody, and then he dropped like 45 points on Kobe Bryant in the Lakers in the Garden, and then all of a sudden everybody loved him. Linsanity, baby.
It's New York, too.
Why do people love Rudy, dude?
Yeah.
Equipment manager scoring a touchdown.
Who loves Rudy?
Everybody.
Everybody
The
loves
movie
Rudy.
Rudy. People love the movie. Of course.
Rudy.
Hey, Montana came out and just dumped all over.
I've heard multiple ex-Notre Dame people say similar things.
That's a shame. That poor guy. He tells his whole story. They write this movie. He wins like an Oscar probably. He's so happy about how his life turns out. And then like 20 years later, everybody's like, you know that guy's a complete fraud. Right?
He's lying.
That guy can't even leave his house now. Poor guy. Let's pivot a little bit here to the NFL. Joining us now, there's only 32 of these humans in the world. They are tasked to do real-life fantasy football. They are tasked with building a team, a culture, an environment. And the man who is doing that for the Indianapolis Colts has a southern draw and a baby face. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Ballard.
Yeah, Chris!
How we doing?
Hey,
Tell me
Yeah.
Tell me this. No, we got to get started with you.
Okay.
Are you ready? Are you ready to roll? Chris, are you going to put the ass whipping on Adam Cole?
Hey, Chris, I'm not going. Hey, you know a little bit about me now at this point. I think you've met my parents. I ain't no bitch, Chris. There ain't none of that in me. There ain't none of that in me. And I'm gonna put on a show Saturday.
Well, I look forward to watching you put the West Virginia ass whipping on him. He deserves.
Hey, now we're talking about. Let's get to the ass whipping that you are a part of right now. Training camp, trying to put together a team. For those that aren't watching on YouTube, right above Chris's head is probably $150 to $200 million worth of contracts he's going to have to negotiate.
Stop. Don't raise the price.
It's Quentin Nelson and Darius Leonard. That team that you've been building over there, young core, defense great. Good offensive line, great offensive line. You got this team that's set up for success. Last year, Jacoby gets hurt. Nobody expected that to happen. You're on a hot run. You bring in Phillip Rivers now. In this COVID world that we're in, how's the team looking in training camp? How are you handling the whole thing?
Well, good. Everybody makes the excuse that, we didn't have an off season, but we're all playing under the same rules. Nobody's got an advantage on anybody else. So the playing field's equal. And, in terms of, we're going into our, we had our first 3 days of pads. It was good, normal padded practice. The first 2 weeks was interesting. It'll be interesting to see how we follow this going forward, because there's some things of the ramp up that we liked, that we think that can be beneficial for us going forward. Okay. But so far, so good.
What are you looking at this? Because we watch Hard Knocks, and that's really the only inside peek that I get inside a building now. I watch Hard Knocks, and I think it's a wide receiver coach was talking to the Zoom call, which was all the players, because Seth Ryan, Rex's kid, got a false positive or whatever, and he gave an entire speech about how I have to prepare everybody in the Zoom call to play. Like, everybody has to be ready to play, especially with this COVID, because people are going to get sent out. He said, you guys might have a new position coach because I might get COVID at some point in this thing. How are you preparing for that roster-wise? You just have a list of a bunch of you have to scout a bunch of humans and just be ready to pick and place them?
So this Connexon device is very important. It's tracing, it's contact tracing, our proximity to other people. And if you're around, a group for over 15 minutes at a time, it becomes an issue if somebody tests positive, because they're going to be knocked out. So the way we've explained it, Frank and I, to our staff, both coaches and our scouts, is, look, every guy on the team's important, and you can't, everybody, even your practice squad players that are usually a little more developmental, you've got to think of them as starters, because there's a chance during the season they're going to come into play. Now, the good news for us is that's usually where our first pull is from when we're bringing players in. We've been very active on our practice squad, something we've really sold to players, and we've had guys come from there. So, but it's even more important this year. We have got to be able to those 16 players have to be treated just like they're playing on Sunday each and every week, because you just don't know. And then we've got to have an emergency list ready to go, that's long and deep. And, our scouts will work on that.
What's the conversation about, like, accountability? Because we saw in that first Hard Knocks, the Spanos family, father-son there, who's loved in San Diego, but I got a chance to watch them on Hard Knocks talk to Chris Harris Jr. about how, like, hey, we're going to need you guys to hold each other accountable and this whole bubble-like thing. How has that messaging been sent from the team, and are you guys just expecting people to do that? And how do you see that going with all 100% reality of the humans, 21 to 25-year-old guys? Like, it's going to be a very tough chore, I think.
No, it's going to be very difficult. And our team knows it, not just our team, our staff.
Yeah.
I got 5 kids. When I go home, I got 5 children, and I can't ask them to stop living. I ask them to be careful, and I'm careful around them. Here's look, we're not going to focus on the problem. Frank made a great point of this. We're going to address the problem at the start of camp. And like we both told the locker room, if you want to win and if you want to go where you want to go, it's going to take some accountability on each one of you. And you've got to hold each other accountable. And they know, Pat, you've been in that locker room. They know the guys that are doing what needs to be done. They know the guys that are you can bullshit the media, you can bullshit the fans, but you cannot bullshit the locker room.
Bingo.
And they know. So there's got to be a degree of accountability being held within that locker room for it to be able to be successful. And it doesn't mean we won't have a slip up. And it doesn't mean so. And I don't want somebody, if they do get it, but they've got to be honest. They can't come in the building. They've got to be honest. And we got to make sure we continue testing and doing the protocols that the league has asked us to do.
Chris, AJ Hawk here. There's been rumors.
AJ.
How you doing? There's rumors floated out there that the NFL is exploring the options of going to a playoff bubble whenever that time comes. Seems like you may be getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Down the road,
but would that be a competitive thing? So a team like you doesn't lose Phil Rivers in your first playoff game? Like, how does that work?
I'd love to have a playoff bubble here in Indy. We can put everybody in hotels and we can hold them up.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
I can't lie to you though, AJ. My viewpoint right now is just on today. And I hadn't even thought that far in advance, or have I heard anything from the league regarding, some type of bubble.
What's up, Chris? D-Buck. Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, same here.
A lot of people talking about the Phillip Rivers signing and Buckner on defense. I'm excited about Xavier Rhodes, and I guess it's a 2-part question. First, what was it about him that you saw that you wanted to bring him in? I was excited. I talked about it before you guys even signed him. And 2, how's he fitting in with the guys? I know going to more of his own scheme than what he's coming from. How's that going?
It's going good. And look, we had 2 coaches here that were with Xavier in Minnesota, and Jonathan Gannon and Alan Williams. So they had history with him. And guys, usually when you hit 30 in this league, that's kind of a breaking point. But there's certain players I've been around that just have freakish talent and can extend their careers. And Xavier has that. He's got some of God's gifts that are hard to find. We think we can help him. We think we can help him physically with some of the stuff we're doing nutritionally and with our strength program. And so far, so good. And we knew, like, one of the things I really addressed and wanted to address was making sure we added a couple veterans in the secondary.
Yep.
Because it's such a young group. Even Kenny, even Kenny's young. We forget. He hadn't been in the league a long time.
Yeah.
And as great a player he is, and as good a leader as he is, it's good to have a vet. The year we had Mike Mitchell, Mitch was unbelievable guiding that room. And I think Xavier, and then we added another Tavon Wilson here a few weeks ago. And he looks like he's going to be a real good addition. And then also TJ Carey. I don't want to undersell what he can do. He can play inside and outside and play safety. So we think we've added 3 to the secondary vets that can help these young kids come along.
Secondary is going to be a big deal in the AFC for a long time with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid over there in Kansas City, which, by the way, you came from that place. And I think I asked you, I believe it was last year or 2 years ago, every time you come on, by the way, I'm so thankful. Ladies, joining us now, by the way, for those that are just catching in, Chris Ballard, General Manager of the Indianapolis.
Hey, as big as you've gotten now, we're just happy to come on.
Oh,
you do look good. You look good, dude. You've been getting after it.
Yeah,
Fight week.
Hey, this is fight week, man.
Yeah!
Hey, Chris, if I would have taken care of my body like I've been taking care of my body here going into my wedding and then now into fight week, I mean, we're talking probably 3-4 more yards on every single punt. I mean, we're talking big deal.
You could have easily played another 8 or 9 years.
Oh, well.
Easily played another 8 or 9.
I still think I probably could if I needed to. But, oh, man, what was I going to ask you about? I had a great question lined up. Oh, the Kansas City Chiefs. Last year or 2 years ago, you said that Veach is a guy who's incredible at setting up contracts and setting up a roster. We're watching them do that right now somehow, pulling money out of a hat. I don't know how they're doing this, signing all their players. But in the AFC, like, is there ever a thought? You're just focused on the AFC South. Are you focusing on what the AFC is for what seems to be the next maybe 10 years with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? Like, whenever you're putting together your team, what are you thinking about?
Well, I mean, the good thing is they're not in they're in the AFC, but they're not in our division.
Yeah.
So that helps. And in terms of Kansas City, now Brett's outstanding, and he's got a a cap guy, Brant Tillis, who I'm also very close with from our time there, who's outstanding. But when we put our team together, look, it's a passing league. I mean, it is. It's a passing league, and you've got to be able to rush, and you got to be able to cover on defense. And you want 11 guys that can defend the pass. I know stopping the run's big, but we'll rally and we'll figure out how to stop the run. But you got to have 11 guys to defend the pass, and we're always going to be, that's always going to be our emphasis defensively. I think that's when you see at linebacker. I don't know if we have a linebacker that weighs over 233 pounds. We want we want guys that can run and cover and take space away. And that's how you have a chance to defend, the Watson, the Mahomes, the Jacksons. You've got to have speed on the field to be able to match them.
Let's talk about your quarterback at this point. Phillip Rivers, as soon as you signed him, there was obviously a reaction, either very good, really bad. Any decision that is made in the offseason, you can't judge immediately until you see how it pans out. So it's always hilarious to kind of do that and see that. With the first couple of days here and with him being in the building, what have you seen out of Phillip Rivers that makes you go, yep, that's why we picked Phillip Rivers this offseason?
Well, look, he's accurate. I think he's 89% so far in practice. This dude he is accurate.
Oh, come on.
He is accurate.
The defense is sorry out there. No, I'm joking.
No, Phillip will get out of bed when he's 70 and be accurate. Their guys can get out, and when they can throw it, that'll never leave him. But just his energy, his presence, all of that just bleeds over confidence to everybody else. And I think everybody knows. Let me tell you one of the cool things. Everybody knows what Phillip's done in his career. And players know, but he comes out every day and works and wants to still earn their respect, which I think is key.
Well, and I think that's why Phillip Rivers is Phillip Rivers. We got to go to a break on radio. Will you stick with us on YouTube for a little bit, another minute or two?
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, the conversation continues with Chris Ballard at youtube.com/the Pat McAfee Show. We'll be back on the other side, radio listeners, to close out hour one. And we're clear. What are you drinking over there? You got some Menno Explode? You fucking getting jacked up? What's that?
Uptime.
What's that?
Uptime.
What is it?
Oh, it's the best one. I found it. I got cases of it in the fridge.
They should be paying you for this, right? I never even heard of that thing right there.
We tried. I had Cal. Remember Cal came on? I had Cal call him. I said, call Uptime and see if we can't get them to sponsor the draft room. And they wouldn't do it because they don't sell it here. They only sell it on the East Coast.
Oh, that's
yeah. And they've gotten more. People watch the draft, but during the draft, these cans are just slaughtered all over the draft.
What is it? Some kind of like cognitive brain water?
It's an energy drink. I mean, it makes your hair stand up on your head.
It looks good, by the way. I was going to say.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. It's called orange. This one's blood orange, but they got lemon. It's good.
Hey, listen.
It's better than all those other energy drinks. At least that's what I like.
Don't take the Bang. You will get hooked. That stuff is crack.
Oh, no. I don't like. I won't do the Bang.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I did it there for a couple months. I had to stop cold turkey. It was tough coming out of it. I'm going to be honest. It was tough coming out the other side of it. I'm happy to be on the other side. Let's talk about, can I ask you about Jacoby? Because I would assume that you have to answer a lot of questions about Jacoby. Jacoby, you gave him a 2-year deal last year, and you even said to the media, like, we don't know if he's our guy. That's why it's a 2-year deal, but we like what he's shown us thus far. Last year he had a great start, gets hurt. Now you bring in Phil. He's going to get a chance to, I don't want to say sit behind, but he sat behind Tom Brady, Andrew Luck, and now Phil Rivers. That seems like that's going to be quite a weapon for Jacoby's future. What are you thinking about Jacoby and his future? And I would assume this year is a year that you need to have a great backup because you have no idea what the hell is going to happen with the COVID thing.
Yeah, well, it's tough. I mean, I think it's tough, one, because of my, relationship with him, and I think so much of him. But bringing Phillip in was such a unique chance for the organization, especially with his relationship with both Nick and Frank. All right, so but Jacoby being who Jacoby is, of course he's pissed. He should be, but at Jacoby's core, he's as good a teammate as I've ever been around. And he wants the team to win. Sure, he wants to be the guy. And I wouldn't want a player on this team that doesn't want to start and play and compete. So Jacoby will continue at some point, like I told Jacoby, at some point, you're going to have to make a play to help us win. And he'll be ready.
Hey, Chris, you mentioned Jacoby and your relationship with him. I'm always curious, being the GM there and your relationships with players and coaches. Pat and I have talked about this before. It almost helps to, if you're running a sports team, to be a sociopath and not let your emotions get in the way of any kind of decision. I'm just wondering how you balance that between, like, hey, this is what's best for the team, but I also have personal relationships. Like, how has that gone so far?
Look, I can't do that. I just can't. It's just not me, and I can't change who I am. I'm going to have relationships. I do. I care about the play. I care about our players. I want them to do good. I want to have them to have successful careers. I want them to continue when football's over, to have successful lives. It's tough when you're making that transition. So I can't sit here and say I don't have relationships that are close with them. But here's how I kind of explain to our guys. Don't take the business in personal. And you do. Most of them are young. I'll say, look, at some point, we're going to have a discussion about money here. And you might not agree and I might not agree. And that's okay. If you do well and do everything that we're asking you to do, either we're going to pay you or somebody else is going to pay you. And it's going to work out good for you and your family. I want to keep every player we can, but that's not realistic. It'll get a little sticky every once in a while, but I think at the end of the day, players know a few things. One, I'm going to be very honest with them about what's going on and how they're playing and what the expectations are. And I think, at the end of the day, I want good for them. I want players to do good. We're not in the anti-player, screw player business. This is a players' league. I don't think it's a players and coaches league. You cannot forget that.
Well, Chris, we're about to come back into radio here, so I think it's a good time to let you go ahead and continue to dominate your day and create that Colts team. Enjoy the hell out of this process, man. Right, I hope the nose swabs have been a lot of fun as well.
I think I came in today. I was running late to a meeting, and I forgot they had to remind me to go get it. And I think that was after 21 straight days of getting tested.
Well,
it's nice bad. We're getting used to it.
Well, hey, hopefully they all come back negative for the entire season, for the entire NFL. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Ballard. Thanks.
Yeah, Chris.
We're rooting for you.
Hey, you too, boss man. Welcome back to the Pat. Yeah, you too. Welcome back to the Pat. Yep, you too. Chris. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here. Just wrapped up a conversation with Chris Ballard. I believe we kept him for 4 to 5 minutes too long, but that guy, great conversation every time I had him. I was on my way out as he was on his way into the Colts, and I got a chance to meet him after I retired and chat about him and learn about him and kind of watch him operate. Those GMs, you have to be able to manage business, right? You have to be able to manage personalities. You have to be able to manage expectations. You have to be able to manage the media. You have to be able to manage. That is not an easy job. That's why you see them get filtered through. And that's why you see some teams suck continually because it is not an easy job to do at all.
You got to hire good people around you too. You got to put your ego aside and bring in people that are going to push you and not just be all yes men or yes women to you. Like Chris Ballard, he's a great representation of what I guess GMs could be or should be. Like he said, that's not when I asked him, hey, is it if you need to take your emotion out of when you're making decisions for teams? He's like, that's just not me. Well, I'm not that guy.
You actually asked him if he was a sociopath. Yeah. I mean,
those are your words.
The way
I explored that.
There, no, you definitely said it was an interesting way for AJ Hawk to ask Chris Ballard if he was a sociopath or not. I'm wondering because that is a real thing, though. How do you look somebody in the eye?
Cowboys.
Now, I'm not saying Bill Belichick is one of these, but Bill Belichick has been known, guys that he has done business with for a long time, had a lot of success with, telling them like, hey, you should probably retire because we are going to cut you probably tomorrow, or we will trade you. You get the hell out of here. I mean, that is the type of thing you have to be able to separate the business side from the personal side. And for some reason, I have struggled with. Like, whenever he said, I would tell the guys, like, hey, when we talk business, don't get personal. It's like, okay, yeah. Let me talk about you the way. Let me talk. Always.
Because it's your livelihood. And this is what you're doing is basically somebody tell you, you know what, you're not good enough anymore.
Hey, and by the way, let's talk about you then on the other side. You want to negotiate about me? Okay, if we're going to do this business-wise, well, I think you have put me in a bad spot because you have a terrible eye for gunners. I think you have a terrible eye for people that play. How about that? Do we ever talk about that? No. By the way, don't take that personal. That is just business. I would like to see a player do that. I think I could have been a player to do that, and I just thought of it. I wish I would have thought of that a long time ago.
Might have to go back. Now you might have to come out of retirement and play 8 more years just to do that.
By the way, I am spiteful enough to do that.
Yeah.
I am spiteful enough to do something like that. But those negotiations are not easy, man. I mean, those negotiations, I got franchise tagged, obviously, so that one did not go well, the beginning of then the next year, whenever it happened, I was just like, man, you don't even know me, man. Like you don't even know me as a human. But I was also told that there's no loyalty between us because I did not draft you. Was one of the first things that was said. I'm like, damn, okay, so I'm gonna hit the road here. I like Indianapolis. I like this place, but I guess I'm gone. Franchise tag the next day. Okay, all right. To hell, I'm not going anywhere. I guess this guy hates me, and here we are. There's no loyalty, and then I found out later that Jim Irsay didn't want me to leave.
Well, and how is someone like Gerald McCoy not take what happened to him personal? Like he's getting absolutely screwed.
No, it was. But I don't.
It's business.
It's a transaction. It's a whole move to free up a spot. Okay. Like he could re-sign. Like it's. Yeah, I think it's more like a transaction. It's not like, hey, this guy, we don't need him. Let's cut him. I think they're trying to. It's best for everybody, maybe.
Well, and also, especially in this world now too, where you need as many players as possible, right? I don't know how the NFL is going to avoid the Marlin situation. I'm talking not just one team. I'm talking numerous teams because you got a lot of dudes on that roster. Right? Everybody just assumes, and they know probably 10 players on each roster. There's another at least 43 on there that you have never heard of that maybe got signed on Thursday. There's guys that get signed on Thursday. I had a guy get signed on Saturday, and he was my gunner on Sunday, and I didn't even know his name. I had to call him by a number. It was a terrible number, like, hey, 46 or something like that. Like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, hey, I'm coming to you. Okay. Didn't even know the guy's name. And by the way, by Monday, he was gone because another guy, like that is, you have no idea what you're bringing in, who's bringing in. It is going to be.
Like if Clowney goes to work out for somebody or Dez, do you have to pass 3 tests? Do you have to show 3 negative tests before you even work out? How does it work?
Yeah, is a workout now 5 days long because you have to wait there?
And then if they sign you, do you have to hang out for 8 days before they let you in the facility?
This is going to be interesting. Yeah. It's going to happen. They will ford the river like Oregon Trail. Mm-hmm. They will go for this thing. They will try to make it happen, and I'm very excited for it. But it's going to be interesting watching them juggle it because if you do remember, about a month and a half ago, Foch came out and said nothing will be able to happen without a bubble. The NFL won't be able to happen. And then the NFL medical person was like, hey, Foch, go throw a terrible opening pitch. Okay, we'll take care of this. I'm excited to see how they're planning on doing that.
Ice that elbow.
Hey, that's one of the worst opening pitches of all time. Fouch had such a wild quarantine. I mean, a real roller coaster of a quarantine.
In the beginning, too.
Didn't even know he existed, by the way. Didn't even know he existed. And then I found out, saw him work, saw him get yelled at by the NFL, saw him throw a bad opening pitch. Now he's back, though. I think he's on the road to recovery. 5 seconds until hour 1 ends on radio. This is the Pat McAfee Show. I'm very fucking intrigued to see how the NFL does this, by the way. College UNC just suspended all athletics at UNC until 5 p.m. today because of a COVID spike. Until 5 p.m.
5
today.
p.m.
Yeah, it's like a storm.
Today.
Like a storm's coming through. Okay, I want to let everybody know there's a COVID severe COVID warning until 5 p.m. today.
You know how the football practice move to 6.
Oh, 5:15 probably. Yeah. Oh, by the way, how many minutes do we need to put on the pads? About 15 minutes. Okay, practice now at 5:15. Good luck out there. Mac Brown's doing it. The college stuff, Kevin Warren, we'll talk about this in the second hour. And we'll talk Tom Pelissaro as well, NFL Network insider reporter, guy who had a great quarantine. There's a guy that had a great quarantine for the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk to him about the plans that the NFL has for when these positive cases inevitably pop up, which are going to happen. Will they be like the PGA and say we got to keep going? Will it be like the MLB, keep going? Or the NFL is going to be like we got to suspend games? I mean, there's a lot to figure out. And I assume it's all flying by the seat of their pants because they can't predict what's going to happen next. But you got to hope that the guy or the lady making the decision are very good at making very quick, pretty vital decisions for a $1 billion operation.
How do you make up for games that you possibly have to cancel or delay? It's not baseball where they're playing, 60 games this year?
Well, and then 7-inning games are saying where they play double headers.
So what does an NFL team do if they have to cancel a game?
So there's alleged.
When do you make it up?
There's alleged rumors that the NFL has the Tampa Bay hotels for the Super Bowl for an extra month afterwards. So they extended their reservations for all the Tampa hotels that are under the NFL for another month afterwards. So I don't know if that's a normal thing. People who have told me in the hotel business said that is not a normal thing for the NFL to do. When they came to Indianapolis, they did not do that. Maybe it's something that happened. But I would assume that they're potentially thinking of maybe adding bye weeks, I guess, for teams.
Playoff bubble in Tampa?
Well,
Couldn't that be if they have all the hotels reserved, whoever is in the playoffs, move them down there for a month?
Florida is the place where the bubbles have been working. Yeah. I mean, the NBA.
We drove by one. Aren't the basketball players right over
right
there?
over yonder?
20
right
minutes
there,
away.
Right over there. Terrence Ross also said yesterday in a conversation that there's a hotel on the other side of a pond that guys possibly are doing that. I'm like, don't, Terrence, you get your fucking megaphone out there and tell them stay on this side of the fucking water, okay? We need this playoffs to continue. He's like, oh, no, people aren't. They could, though. I was like, I'll tell you what, people are going to find a way to Andy Dufresne, dude. If you lock them down, people will find a way to Andy Dufresne. I was locked up for 12 hours. I was trying to figure out how to fucking escape. I couldn't do it.
Even for those 4 games.
Get me out of here, man. Get me out of here.
Those 4 weeks after the season or whatever, like if the Bengals and the Dolphins can't play week 11, are we really going to hold the season up just so they can get that last game
Joe
in?
Burrow, bro, have a little fucking faith.
I'm just saying, when Joe Burrow, who doesn't have anyone blocking for him, and Tua, who probably gets hit twice and then, fractures his leg. There's not going to be a point. There's not going to be a point. There's not going to be a point to hold the season
What
up.
if it's the Patriots? What if Cam Newton has to
Well, it's
make up a
different because
game?
we're going to be in Super Bowl contention.
You
so
sure?
yeah, absolutely. So you have to be able to reserve the teams who are going to make the playoffs. But how do you weigh how important a game is to postpone the entire season just for 1 week?
All right, we will talk about that in the second hour for sure. We won't just completely forget that you fucking said that. But DB, what I'm going to ask you in the second hour, I would like you to prepare for here. I feel like corner is a position. Everybody's thinking about quarterbacks getting sick and having to lose them, and maybe coaches or coordinators or something like that. If you lose your stud corner and you have to put in that fourth corner, there is quite a leap sometimes on some teams from 1 to 4, right? I'm going to ask you about that because that is a big deal. Nobody's really talking about it. Like, hey, in a pass-heavy league, which is what Ballard just referred to, and we all know it, if somebody loses their corner, that could be a big problem as well, and it hasn't been talked about. Linebacker, I think big deal, obviously, but
no,
can't
inside backer is not that big a deal.
Will not be exposed as much.
You heard Ballard. Hey, we got to stop the pass. We'll rally and stop the run.
We'll figure it out.
I was like, you know what? I agree, Chris. You're absolutely right. Especially you're talking about these AFC quarterbacks. Good luck stopping them.
All right, we'll talk about that in the second hour. Also, we'll talk about the NBA. We'll talk about college. Kevin Warren, the Big Ten, just wrote a 2-page memo. There's some people that aren't happy about it, especially Ohio State people. Yeah. And I'm going to run and take a leak before hour 2 starts. Good morning, beautiful people. It is a Thursday, August 20th, 2020. 2 days until my fight against Adam Cole, and it is very deep into fight week. Yeah! Last night, Darius Butler, Nick Morado, AJ Hawk, and myself went back into the NXT arena, had a face-to-face with Adam Cole that ended with him almost getting knocked out again if it wasn't for 4 security guards stepping in between. We are pumped for Saturday, excited for Saturday, and can't wait to get to it. Speaking of getting to it, let's kick off hour 2 in fantastic fashion. Last hour we talked to Chris Ballard. This hour we'll be talking to Tom Pelissaro. What Chris Ballard was talking about is how their team, they need to, whenever they look at their roster, practice squad, everybody, we're going to have to look at everybody as starters. Everybody's going to have to prepare as starters in this COVID-19 world. We all know that people will be out for 10 days, 3 days. We saw it on Hard Knocks the other night, a false positive, which they're describing as a presumed negative now to kind of PR spin that thing. Those people are out even if they don't have COVID. What if that happens on Saturday and you lose a guy for Sunday and then Monday you find out it wasn't even real? There's a lot of things to kind of go through with this whole thing. A lot of people say, hey, lose a quarterback, bad deal, which obviously they touch the ball every single play. That is a bad deal. A lot of people talk about maybe a coordinator gets it. You don't have a play caller anymore. That'll be a big deal. I experienced that in Baltimore with the Indianapolis Colts. Bruce Arians got sick morning of. They thought he had to get rushed to the hospital. Clyde Christensen, who was quarterback coach all year, now he's calling the plays with 0 time to prep, nothing, just morning of. He figuring out that could potentially happen. But the one position that we have an expert on joining us that we should talk about, if you lose a corner, okay, if you lose a DB, specifically a corner, a lot of positions can get covered up by teammates. A lot of positions can kind of get covered up. But when you're a corner, you can get exposed very, very quickly. If you look at veteran quarterbacks, if a corner gets hurt and goes out, or quarterbacks, when a corner goes out, when you see that new corner jogging, you actually see veteran quarterbacks look at the person, maybe even look at their number, like they'll see their number and be like, oh, this guy.
Who's that? 39? Oh, yeah.
This guy's got no pull. And then literally look at the person all the way over to where they're standing and then stare them down and then make a full check and then bang, that guy's getting attacked for the next 10 plays. I saw Peyton do it to people. My rookie second year, it was awesome. It was just like you see him standing there, right? He's got his big wide base, and then they're subbing something in or subbing something out, and he just looks at him, and you see him like stand up and be like, oh, okay, well, goes up to the line, and then does a full thing, and then does the full, and then it's just right at that guy every single time. And by the way, usually just bang, 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 see you later. If a corner gets ruled out, and let's say it's your one corner, what is the jump? But now, granted, every situation is different. But normally from corner 1 to corner 4, that could be something that really affects a lot of things.
Yeah, well, you know what? The biggest issue actually isn't the number 2 going into the number 1. It's now your number 4 or 5 going up to number 3, and now they're right in the mix. And it's like, practice, everybody's getting those reps, you're having your communication, you're watching your guy on film that you're going to be matched up with, you're probably in the middle of a game, so you kind of got a rhythm with them, it's release, route, depth, all the things, and now you're just thrown in there. That's a whole different ball game. Because cornerback, I mean, it's mental. You're on that island. So, you mess up, you slip, you get a bad read on something, it's 6.
Well, and also not even 6. It's pass interference, right? There's a lot of pass interference whenever you see backup corners come in, which in a passing league with the refs that we have, and now you can't even review if it's pass interference or not. I mean, that's a potential opportunity. I mean, that is something. Until you sat down here and I thought about, like, what would we have done? Like, if we were putting in some of the guys that were coming in to play special teams that were, like, literally the 4th and 5th corner, we would have been in some trouble if those guys were being asked to match up with somebody.
Your coordinator, the D coordinator, too, it puts a lot of pressure on him.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to have to change his calls up depending on how good or bad this guy is that came in because they're going to pick on him all day. So, hey, we got to protect this guy. I got to put some over top. I can't put him one-on-one with any of the receivers.
How do you protect a corner that's on an island that is definitely
covered
outmatched?
2?
You
hope he can
boy,
tackle.
you talked about having a light box earlier, so now you got to lighten your box sometime, maybe put 2 safeties deep to protect the deep ball. But like you said, you're practicing, like coordinators are practicing all week too with their calls against personnel. So now you have to change it up because this guy's at corner now and, Deshaun Jackson. It's like, damn, or you got a nickel that now has to play outside, so now you got a new nickel in there. So it's a tough adjustment.
These are real conversations, I assume, that are happening among scouting personnel. But Ballard said we're not focusing on the problem. Okay, so that's a very interesting because when he said that, I could see how people don't focus on the problem, which is what we're doing right now. Things that could potentially go wrong and could potentially expose something. You have to be prepared. But you could see how Ballard's like, man, if we talk about everything that could potentially go wrong here, we are in deep trouble. Let's just go ahead and expect the players to be held accountable. And if they do that and nobody gets it and we don't get COVID in our building, somehow equipment managers, athletic trainers, interns, GAs, everybody, if we somehow don't get in here, then we're going to win. COVID-19. Danny Amendola said COVID-19 is just another opponent this year. So he said that's how Matt Patricia has been describing it. It's like, hey, COVID-19 is an opponent that we have to play this year.
Yeah.
And this is how we beat this opponent. This is how we beat this opponent. And I think that's a good way to frame it in your mind. But, man, 2 weeks being locked in your apartment all by yourself, allegedly, I mean, it is going to be tough. But, hey, let's not focus on the problem. Guys won't do anything.
Oh, they'll sit
at
I
home.
mean, you can access the tough thing about it is, you got to hold these guys accountable when they're away from the facility, but you can get it you could innocently get it picking up food, like anything. He's got 5 kids too. Like I got 4 kids. You don't have to be doing something wrong. I don't have to be going to a strip club to get COVID. Like I could get it pretty innocently, I think, around.
Well, the Whitworth family said their nanny nanny
had a meal with somebody who had it.
Got it, infected the whole house, including his mother-in-law and father-in-law. It's like
father-in-law spent 5 days in the hospital.
That was probably a pretty scary situation, but that comes out of nowhere. It's all going to work out. Hey. Yeah. It's all going to work out.
It always does.
Speaking of working out, the Big Ten is working out some of their PR problems. It was reported that there was no vote by the presidents whenever the decision was made to move the football season to the spring as opposed to the fall. And with the Big Ten doing it, the Pac-12 did it because they've been in alliance, I guess, since 1946 when the Rose Bowl committee was put together. Shout out to A.J. Hawk for knowing that piece of information. And then the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12, they were like, listen, Big Ten and Pac-12 can do whatever the hell they want. We are still going to try to put together a season this fall. So obviously, if you're a pretty big hitter in the football, especially the college football world in the Big Ten, you are not going to be happy that the people you are most worried about beating you, which would be the Alabamas, the LSUs, the Clemsons, everything like that, they're getting a chance to play, which is potentially an advantage, and your schools aren't. And then there's a rumor that there was no vote made and just people were making decisions, and there was an uproar by the Big Ten. So much Big Ten fans and players and everything, so much so that Kevin Warren had to write a 2-page book to lay out every decision and why they made the decision that they made. It was very long. It was very detailed. And what I got from it, and I'm not a great reader. I've told you I've never read a book before, but, I'm like drumline. I can't read the notes, but I can hear them and see them and hit them. There was a vote, I guess. There was a vote in the Big Ten. He said that the reason why the college football schedule was released just 6 days before the college football schedule was canceled is because at the same time, one department was doing the scheduling, one department was doing the medical, and it turned out that the medical team was a lot more important at the end with the stats and analytics and all that stuff that they had. I thought it was pretty well written. By the way, the people who hated Kevin Warren before that did not feel like it was pretty well written. Nope. I think he answered a lot of questions, but boy, I think Big Ten fans are even more upset for him writing this whole thing out.
Hey, so why all the confusion about was there a vote, wasn't there a vote?
I don't know.
Between like other presidents.
I don't know.
How does that happen? Where's the miscommunication here? What's going on in the Big Ten?
Well, we do know that in the world there is a lot of miscommunication. Okay, and that happens in every single world. But I don't know how a president and an athletic director couldn't tell the coach that the president had a vote. Yeah. So why would James Franklin come out and be mad that there was no vote? Did he just not ask anybody? Like James Franklin was like, oh, they probably didn't even do a vote. Turn me on. I'm doing a press conference. Well, it was made ambiguity, blah, 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 blah. There was no vote. It's like James Franklin had to hear from somebody that there was no vote. And then you hear from other coaches that are like, we heard there was no vote. So it's like if they're in the room and there was a vote, how would these people not be relaying the message to their constituents? Like, hey, we voted overwhelming majority to move it. That's how it is. Because it feels like if the football coaches and athletic directors are just going out there and being like, nah, well, yeah, we're not, that doesn't. Yeah, you voted? Yeah, no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I didn't see it. I wasn't there.
No, I didn't.
Show me your ballot.
Did you? Yeah, did you punch it in and everything? Yeah. Did you have to write it in? Was it like Survivor or was it like what was it like? What was the vote like? I don't want to hear. If that's what they did, I respect the Big Ten coaches even more. Just completely just going out there and like, we'll just start a bunch of controversy here and see if we can continue to cook this. Why would the coaches want that? They wouldn't.
It makes everything look so stupid and unprofessional. Honestly.
Hey, if the Big 12, SEC and ACC go on this fall, What is life going to be like in Columbus, Ohio?
It's going to be tough too. I'm sure you've probably heard though. People say, "Hey, the Cincinnati Bearcats are playing, Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns. All these Ohio football teams are playing, and the biggest one, Ohio State, is not."
By the way, hilarious to hear that in Ohio, there's all these football teams, 2 NFL teams, and the most important and most powerful team is the Ohio State Buckeyes.
OH.
Somewhat.
IO, dude.
Depending on who
OH.
you talk to, I guess. Yeah.
Well, you're an Ohio.
Oh, IO, Connor. Good job.
This guy.
I had to fill that in
He
for
had
you.
to do it, yeah.
And I got attacked by OH
I.O.
fans all last year. So
Oh, yeah, that's an easy
Didn't
one.
you crowd surf there?
I did, yeah.
You did. Was that
Stipe.
weird?
With Stipe.
Were there any roaming hands? I always wonder that.
That was the first time I ever crowd surfed, I believe. Yeah, it was. It was the first time I've ever crowd surfed. Normally, by the way, I have attempted to crowd surf before, but I'm so dense, like people don't expect it. I hit. You know what I mean? Like people don't expect it.
Yes, I can see that. Actually, right now, looking at you, if I saw you even attempt to jump in my region, I would run away.
Yeah, that's, by the way, that has happened a couple times in nightclubs where I'm on a stage and I'm really comfortable and I feel like the people are rocking and ready and I go and people give a real effort, but boy, my ass is a big one.
Right before Ohio State, too, you gave a little speech to the people and said,
Yeah.
I am a little dense.
I am dense because, by the way, you only give that speech when you're about to crowd surf if you have attempted to crowd surf before and it has not gone well. And that has happened to me 2 to 3 times where, and by the way, every single time I have terrible friends around me. Going like, oh, go, you got to go. And I'm like, no, you were here last time. It doesn't work. Like, no, you got to go. You got to go.
Look at that guy. He'll catch you.
And then I go, and every single time they attempt, but it's not their best effort, obviously. They don't want to spill their drinks, and it just goes, I go right down. That particular time they got me, and Stipe's big ass got right up there behind me. So I had a good time at Ohio State. A couple weeks after that, though, Urban Meyer took a shot at me in a article. He's talking about the big football game day show. What's their show?
College game day?
No, their show, Fox's show.
Oh, the Big Ten.
The big show.
Big Ten.
Big noon kickoff.
Yeah. Big noon kickoff. There it is.
Big noon kickoff show. They had their ratings were going up, right? And he said, as were game day, by the way. No, I believe it was like this.
Setting records,
I think the
actually.
ratings were actually like this. There's
Best
one
they've ever
particular X factor, I think, but I'm not going to get into that conversation. But he said, turns out people don't just want to see people jumping into river or ponds and lakes. They actually want to see football coverage. So that gets sent to me, and I'm like, oh, so this is a blatant shot
Direct
me.
shot.
Urban Meyer, he didn't say my name. He just took a direct shot at me because they were talking about ratings. He did that, and this was 1 week after I did whatchamacallit down in Baylor or whatever. So I was like, oh, this guy took a shot at me. So I'm not just like, hey, Urban Meyer, I didn't play for you. I'm never going to play college football. I'm never going to coach college football. I don't give a damn about you right now. You want to take a shot? So I fire back at him. Oh, bad idea, Darius. Bad. I thought I was getting in a war with Urban. No. I did not get in a war with Urban. It turns out I got in a war with all of OH.
I.O.
They hated me. And I would assume that same venom is getting sent to Kevin Warren's office. That's why he had to write that 2-page book right there. It was what, by the way, me and Urban settled our beefs. We're both people that enjoy boat parties and everything like that. So we are, we have settled our beefs, me and Urban. We actually have. It's
good to hear.
And that made him more relatable in my eyes, by the way, with the sunburn and the guy in the back in the video. I like Urban Meyer now more because of that video. Other people have gone differently, but Ohio State fans have been relentless through this entire thing.
I think there's a chunk of parents in Chicago right now holding signs up trying to find a way to get to Kevin Warren and try to get some answers.
They're picketing right now?
Well, Sean Wade's dad got there yesterday or 2 days ago, and he's trying to meet up with other Big Ten parents. And they're like, yeah, basically stand outside and like demand some answers.
So they want to have like a PCA, like a parent commissioner association, like the PTA has whenever you're growing up as
trying to
kids.
hold them accountable, trying to hold people accountable.
Are they marching like outside?
I don't know if they're
answers.
doing that march. That kind of march that'd be problematic. I feel like how
This
you're
march
starting
right
the
here?
march.
We wanna
But
play.
I don't know what they're doing, but yeah, they are.
This is what we say.
We want to play.
Our kids. That's what they're saying? Is that what's going on? Signs?
I think that's pretty much verbatim what's happening right now.
Well, don't just bring that into the conversation. If they're picketing at this
They're
guy's
holding
office, I'll be
signs.
like,
I've seen, look, you're a man of the internet. I've seen. I
Not
know
as much as you, though.
Sean
I
Wade's
know.
dad has talked about it. I know he's done some local interviews in Columbus about. He went on, I think, Bobby Carpenter's show and talked about what he was going to do. I believe he is still there.
Hey, Bobby Carpenter, He is not happy with Kevin Warren.
Not at all.
That is the guy.
He's going to redline that.
He
that
redlined the document. I would like to let Bobby Carpenter know that you are one of the favorites of our office. I want to let you know that.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby. You
Never
are,
stop, Bob.
Bobby Carpenter. What a legend.
Trust me, he is not going to back off Kevin Warren.
He is not, by the way.
Which I respect.
He has become the face of the Ohio State fan base, I think, in this war against Kevin Warren. If he ends up winning, maybe Mayor Bobby Carpenter.
Head coach. Make him the AD.
How about the commissioner of the Big Ten? Just slide into that job.
That's what we're here for.
I don't think Warren's going to last long.
He had no shot.
He's already done.
It's a tough 3 to 6 months to start off that gig.
Hey, this was his first year on the job. 3 months into it, worldwide pandemic. Now what? 8 months into it, postponing the Big Ten football season. The guy had no shot.
Think if the SEC and the ACC actually play, and it's good football, and it's exciting, it's going to get worse for Kevin Warren.
He's 14 minutes after that. Let's get to a break here. Is Kevin Warren? He was in a no-win position. I don't know how much you're paying him. It's not enough, okay? Unless he's getting Goodell-like money right now, I've felt that wrath from Ohio State fans. And if he's getting that not only on the internet, but in real life, they're picketing outside of his office.
From all Big Ten fans.
Say, not just
Ohio State.
Do the parents
I'm sure there is a lot
of parents. A lot of the parents that are going after
parents
him.
want to play more than the players? Is that what? They're not picketing.
In some cases.
You got to remember, though, those parents – they're the ones that took the kids to practice. They're the ones that they're seeing their kids get an education for free here.
They
but
see
also,
that payday coming, right? When they get to the league.
All that work. Now we're getting to the moment where we're trying to get to, and all of a sudden this guy's brand new on the job. Oh, they're gonna be so mad. Kevin Warren, I want to let you know this is a show that does feel for you, bub, because you are in a no-win situation here.
Here for you, Kev.
If you say let's do the season, then it doesn't happen. You'll get attacked for allowing the season to happen. You say, no, we're not doing a season. Well, this guy hates the Big Ten.
Son of a bitch.
What a terrible spot. I hope they're paying you good. This is the Pat McAfee Show. We're back on the other side. Tom Pelissaro will join us of the NFL Network. What a show. A stupid show. Thank you for listening.
He's saying don't go off the top, it's too shallow.
See that belt buckle?
All you're going to hear this stadium do is they put the big paw up, they start shaking it, they go, whoa. Hey, look, things are going good, Yeah, he loves the defensive side of the ball. He said yesterday to me that this is a blue-collar team. They win it on special teams. They have 5 block kicks this season. The defensive side of the ball, Lynch leads the Big 12 in sacks. But also on the offensive side, Denzel Mims is an absolute animal. He is a weapon. Charlie Brewer, the quarterback from Lake Travis. His dad was a quarterback in Texas. Yeah. His grandpa was a quarterback in Texas. And the people here in Waco just so happen to get a chance to see Charlie Brewer on a daily basis. Hey. Yeah, Boomer here is going to mean a little bit different than what it means on the internet currently. And hopefully here in Baylor, they hope they're not hearing a lot of Boomer sooner. Everybody wants to be a punter, including quarterbacks. If I was a quarterback, I'd want to be a punter as well. 0 yards on that punt. That's an embarrassing situation. The Dak dance that gets on national television has led to a lot of losses, but you got to respect the hips being able what sign am I going to make for college game day? Well, I want to make something creative. I want to make something fun. No, to hell with it. I don't like OU. It's so thick. Look how thick that thing is. That's years and years of patience. Right now? Okay, let's do it. We are out here on the Brazos River, which you can take a boat to the game. One of the only stadiums in the country that you can do. That's beautiful out here. A lot of people would say, this is the last time I'm going to be on game day. The last time I allegedly did what I'm about to do, I ended up in a jail cell. Let's go!
was a sellout, by the way. That was beautiful.
Maybe other shirts? Yeah, hold on.
You need to go get changed before you get sick.
Great work, Russia. I'm actually not that cold. Hey, I went for it. My chest hurts. It was like 5 feet. I was standing there.
That's full commitment, by the way.
Everyone needs a great pair of wireless earbuds, and you already know Raycon earbuds start at about half the price of any other premium wireless earbuds on the market, and that they sound just as amazing as the other top audio brands you know. Their newest model, the Everyday E25 earbuds, are their best ones yet. With 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a nice noise-isolating fit.
Nailed it.
Raycon's wireless earbuds are so comfortable, perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Unlike some of your other wireless options, Raycon earbuds are both stylish and discreet with no dangling wires or stems. That's why I love them. I always wear them when I'm running. They're the best.
You do a lot of running, by the way. Hey, this son of a bitch ran 7.5 miles yesterday.
Fight week, baby. Let's get it going. Unlike some of your other wireless options, Raycon earbuds are both stylish and discreet. I said that. You've heard me talk about how the company was co-founded by Ray J and celebrities like, I don't know, Snoop Dogg, Cardi B, Melissa Etheridge, Brandy, J.R. Swish are obsessed with their Raycons. Now's the time to see what the hype is all about. Get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/Pat. That's buyraycon.com/Pat for 15% off wireless earbuds. Again, that's buyraycon.com/PATPat.
Shout out to Ray J for everything he's done on camera and off camera. And also, big shout out to J.R. Smith. Put the dude in the game.
Come on.
Put the dude in the game.
Y'all want to win? Put JR in.
And watch him spin.
Watch him spin.
Yeah, watch him hit shots.
And spin and hit shots.
And spin. He was hot when he was down in the bubble there. They were showing he was. And now I assume Frank Vogel's going to have to put him in. Let's talk the NFL. Joining us now is a man. Hold on, let me get this right. So I do want to get this right because every time he talks, people should listen because I feel like he knows more than other people do because the contacts he has and obviously the work ethic. NFL Network's Inside Training Camp live coverage airs daily starting at 10 a.m. That's where, by the way, the Cam Newton footage came from. That's where you get a chance to kind of peek inside. If you're yearning for football like we are, not a bad thing to watch. Tom Pelissaro is an NFL Network reporter, and you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Pelissaro, Pelissero. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Pelissaro.
Tommy!
Woo! Just to be clear, Pat, you're now pitching wireless earbuds, and I got a mug.
Well, I will say this. We own that mug. We don't own Raycon. So we'll text Ray J.
You could.
Hey, I like that our mug made it in your office, though. Hey, thank you for having us in there. What is your go-to? Coffee in the morning? You a coffee guy? Green tea guy?
I just poured water into it for the first time, and I'm thinking I should have washed it first.
Yeah.
That's not on you. That's on me and the fact that I haven't left this basement in 6 months.
Well, let's talk about you in that basement making things happen. You should have washed that cup for sure. We don't even know where that's coming from, so that is something to definitely think about. The NFL, we had Chris Ballard on with us in the first hour, and he talked about how they have to treat basically everybody on the team as starters now. That's just how it's going to be, and they assume more and more is going to happen. Is there a plan in place for the NFL if a Marlins-like outbreak happens? Are they going to postpone games? Because you can't really shorten games in the NFL. You can't postpone games too much because what are guys going to do is sit out. Like, is there a plan in place for that? Have you heard any conversation on how they're going to figure that out?
Well, first of all, when it comes to, changing a venue or cancellation, postponement, whatever, they're putting together kind of like a shadow competition committee. They're calling it a competition advisory panel that will talk to the commissioner in season, because currently the actual competition committee is active NFL executives and coaches and GMs who their interests are going to be different based on what game it is, what happens, things like what happens if you've got to seed the playoffs and some teams have played more divisional games than others. How do you do that? Who wins the division if teams end up playing an equal number of games? What they're doing is they're getting former GMs, former head coaches, former players now to form this other advisory panel that will sort out some of these situations as they come up. But you also have to know the NFL has, made a bunch of different changes to try to have more roster flexibility within the season. The expanded practice squads going to 16 guys. That's one of them. Unlimited injured reserve, not just the reserve COVID-19 list, but unlimited IR. You have a high ankle sprain that in the past that's 4 to 6 weeks. You'd have to make that decision. Okay, do we put the guy on IR end his season, or do we keep him up and now we're down a guy for 4 to 6 weeks? Well, now you can come back from IR within 3 weeks. There is no limit on the number of guys you can come back. In other words, they want, and the competition committee signed off on this, teams to have as much access as possible to guys who know their scheme, that they have actually trained. So if you do have an outbreak within a team, if there are ways that you have enough guys there, and if you don't have concern about other infections or a spread within a team, spread between teams, you're going to, when possible, find ways to play.
What about so it's just going to be field a team however you can field a team if something goes down. That's just going to have to be how it is.
In essence, if there's a situation where 25 guys somehow all have COVID-19, now you've got a problem, especially because, okay, did those tests happen at the beginning of the week where you can retest guys and get them into protocols, figure out who's asymptomatic, who's symptomatic, or did they happen on Friday morning before a Sunday game? Those are all things they're still working out. The in-season testing cadence has not actually been finalized yet. That's going to be one of the big questions. Things like the Matthew Stafford situation where Stafford had one positive test amidst a bunch of negative tests. Then now the Lions come out and say that was a false positive. How they're working through that. That's evolving here where now you can come back, you have 2 more negative tests, you can return to the team. Here's what I know right now. The positivity rate on those COVID-19 tests is ridiculously low. We're talking a fraction of 1% that are positive tests right now. And based on some of the activations today, there have been 110 guys league-wide put on the reserve COVID-19 list. As of this moment, there are 6 guys left on the list.
Let's
go! That's it. It's early. It's early, but those are really good signs that all the protocols, not just the testing, but the contact tracing, the education, the behavioral emphasis, and the social distancing in the buildings, all that stuff you'd say at this moment seems to be working.
Okay, so let's talk about the teams and the players. The first day of training camp, there's always going to be injuries. Always. That's just the way it goes. First time you get back in hitting. This year, there seems to be a lot more. There are players out there who are still great mug sell right there. Great mug sell right there by you. There are players who are still out there on the market. If you're a veteran and you're on the market, I see next to zero reason to sign with a team until the end of training camp. Like right now, Jadeveon Clowney, his name is still out there. He will trend anytime anybody gets hurt, anytime there's an opportunity anywhere, Jadeveon Clowney's name gets brought up. There's a lot of other vets that are still out there that could potentially sign with teams. Do you think there's a lot of let's wait and see what happens with our teams before we sign these vets, or are people actively pursuing Jadeveon Clowney at the moment or anything like that?
Clowney could have signed months ago. He's had offers, multi-year offers, 1-year offers. He still has a really high price tag, talking $17, $18 million per year. That plus, obviously he's got an injury history, a guy that you wanted to bring in for a physical. Well, nobody's advanced it enough in terms of an offer to bring him in for a physical yet. Clowney's always been taking his time. That's one thing that I've heard consistently, which is he was just kind of going to take his time here, push this as far as he could, come in right at the end, which is what he did a year ago, too. The one thing to keep in mind is we're already getting to that point. We're already getting to the end here because, remember, if you're a street free agent, you're a guy who has not been on a team through training camp, you're signing, whether that's Jadeveon Clowney, whether that's Logan Ryan, any of the other number of high-profile free agents. Clay Matthews, Devontae Freeman. You got to pass 3 COVID tests over 4 days, then get a physical before they can even integrate you onto any kind of team activities. So really you're talking about a week. Well, if you need a week to be able just to get onto the field, and presumably even Jadeveon Clowney, you'd like them to practice for a week, by the end of next week, you would be thinking some decisions are going to have to be made, or guys just functionally, based on how this is set up, are not going to be ready to go for week 1.
Hey, Tom, AJ Hawk here. I've heard we know like the Chiefs are talking about having, 22% capacity at their stadium. Different places are going to have fans, they say now. Some places won't. Do you think Goodell is going to come in? Like, is this a competitive imbalance for some teams if you have a home field, if you do have 20% of your fans and some places have nobody?
Competitive imbalance.
Wow. The way that, I'll put it this way, the people making the decisions in those cases are the owners, and they're thinking of the competitive imbalance of this guy's making money and I'm not making money. That's where that starts out. Now, obviously, there's health and safety protocols. Your old team, the Packers, said we're going to not have fans in for the first couple games because we got to focus on making sure that all the protocols are working for the people on the field. And they've drastically reduced the number of people on the field. There's no more cheerleaders. There's no more mascots. I can't be on the field pregame. That was a crushing blow. Reading that in the final game day protocols yesterday. But they're limiting the number of people. You still have, though, the testing protocols, where people can go, who can come in what entrances for the teams that are doing it and having fans in the stands. There's some teams taking a wait-and-see approach. There's other teams like Jerry Jones, who's made very clear, I got so many suites in this place, I can hide people all over here. They're not going to be near each other. He's going to try to have, thousands of people in the stands from week 1. In terms of the actual football, no question. I mean, there's coaches that bring that up, GMs, about the imbalance of, the crowd noise aspect. It's simply different playing on the road than it is playing at home. The idea of artificial crowd noise has come up. There's nothing final on that. But that's certainly been something that they've discussed. I think we've all watched, baseball games or whatever, and you hear they're doing different things to make it sound and look a little bit more like an NFL game. There's going to be nothing normal about, or, a real game. There's going to be nothing normal about NFL games this season, but they're exploring a lot of different avenues. And just because one team's not having people in September or having a small number of people in September doesn't mean that's going to be their plan for October, November, and beyond.
It's been a different taste on whether or not I like the fake crowd noise with the sport or I don't like the fake crowd noise with the sport. Like, for instance, I think UFC early, I enjoyed it without the crowd noise because I was hearing punches landing on people's suck holes, and then I heard coaches talking. But now I think I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I think we need that arena gladiator-like atmosphere.
Football.
And then for football, I think you're going to need some sort of sound.
Gotta be real, too.
You think, well, the Zoom calls, we talked to the NBA players. We talked to Terrence Ross yesterday at Orlando Magic, and he said those Zoom fans are on a 3-second delay. So he said they'll do something big, and then on the other side of the court, they're going like, oh my God. The only thing that's been is the delay. Watching the NFL figure that out will obviously be a lot of fun. Let's go to New England, Tom. What are you hearing out of New England? We've heard clips from Bill Belichick talking about how hardworking Cam is and how much he's enjoying it. We've seen clips from Inside Training Camp Live on NFL Network of Cam Newton dancing and being insane. What are you hearing about that relationship up there, Tom? Because I think New Englanders are getting very, very, very excited about the potential of this particular team right now.
Oh, it's still early in terms of actual padded practices in the course of training camp, but it's also late because we don't have preseason games. We don't have those usual metrics that you use to judge a competition. What we do know is Cam Newton is clearly the most talented quarterback that's on the Patriots roster. He's a guy who has had success in the league, but he's also had injuries over the past couple of years. They drafted Jarrett Stidham in the 4th round. They thought he threw a really pretty ball. They liked what he did in terms of his work with the practice squad or with the scout team over the course of last season. Then you've got Brian Hoyer, who's the one guy who has actually played in this offense, knows how to function in it. I would just say this, with the way that Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels look at everything with that team, they're never going to marry themselves to one thing, even for 2 consecutive games, much less for an entire season. I don't think that they're sitting back and going already, okay, Cam Newton's the guy, we know that, and we're just going to set the depth chart. No, they're going to be looking at this as things move forward here. And I'm not suggesting, the platoon. I know that was a big thing yesterday. Belichick was asked about the idea of rotating quarterbacks, and he said the same thing we've heard him say literally 100,000 times, which is, I'm going to do what's best for the team. Whatever that is, that's what we're going to do. Basically ruling nothing out. But that really is how they operate. You could have one game plan where it's a run-heavy thing and a ton of zone read and Cam is running with the football. There could be another game where they think that they're better off chucking it around, that they need to do a spread-it-out passing offense. And depending how Cam's come along in that phase, maybe Stidham or Hoyer's the best guy within that game. I think it's just going to be fascinating to see this because we know so much about how Bill Belichick operates and how game plan specific he is, the way that they are adaptable, whether it's the defensive schemes or what they're doing on offense. What we don't know is how adaptable truly is he at the quarterback position, because you have to go back 2 decades to find the last time that we didn't know with 100% certainty the number 12 was going to be under center.
Okay, well, he had success with Castle. Castle obviously would go elsewhere or not, and Jimmy and Jacoby, but those are all pretty similar quarterbacks there, right? Like, those are all pretty similar quarterbacks. Cam Newton adds a completely different weapon to that offense if you need to. I'm excited to actually see Bill Belichick wrap his mind around what he could potentially do with Cam and see what he comes up with. He's always been the guy who has taken advantage of the situation the most. I mean, him and Ernie, him and that eye in the sky, the guy who seems to know everything, whether it was like little glimpses in a rule book that nobody else knows about that they've like broken down, where they started moving offensive linemen out to wide receiver before anybody else. They had to add rules to stop them from doing it. They seem to take advantage of things in the best fashion. Everybody yells that they're cheating, but I think every other team in the NFL would do it immediately if they had the brain capacity to do so.
And I will also say this. You bring up the Garoppolo and Brissett, which was during the Deflategate suspension for Tom Brady. I remember vividly that game, the first time that Brissett had to play, because Jimmy G had started the first 2 games, and they had to play Brissett in week 3. And I remember Belichick, after they won that game, with just this big grin on his face. There is something about finding ways to win when everybody's like, well, you don't have one of the best players in the NFL, you have no chance, and having to come up with a completely different plan. They did run a little bit different offense with Brissett, and coming up with that plan seemed to be something that Bill was very satisfied with after the game. I mean, this is a new challenge. When you've won everything like Bill Belichick has, what's left? And the answer might be now trying to continue winning without maybe the best player in NFL history.
And we see a brand new Bill. I think we've been seeing a brand new Bill. I mean, his dog Nike was doing the draft. I mean, you just go through it. It's a brand new Bill Belichick. He's up. I think he won an Emmy at this point. Yep. I mean, it is. There's a lot of things. Yeah, with you guys. I want to talk about you guys and reporters in general. That Jalen Ramsey give and take on Hard Knocks, I think, is the epitome of why most players hate reporters. Okay, I think that is, you know what I mean? Like, he was taking the high road. He was being a veteran. He was giving his answer, and the reporter was like, "No, that's not what I need for my article. So I'm gonna keep prying and prying and prying." Do you think we're in a very different age of journalism? And this is a little bit off subject. I think this is Tom Pelissaro, because you're a younger reporter. You're a guy that is kind of. You are, though. Do you think it's a little bit different though? Like, for instance, I think a lot of people took Jalen's side in that particular case, where in like probably 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, everybody had been like, well, Jalen's an ass for doing that or whatever. I feel like we're in a real different era now for your particular profession.
I appreciate that you're still calling me young, Pat. That does mean a lot.
You
Ask
look like
AJ
you're
about
10.
me. When I was covering AJ in 2007 for the Green Bay Press Gazette, that was me as a young reporter. I've been at this way longer than you think.
Tom, AJ does not remember that, and I know that is
I'm absolutely certain.
And that is a heartbreaker. But
of course, I know Big Tom. Green Bay Press Gazette. At least you were the biggest show in town. You moved up quick, too.
Hey, hold on, though, Tom. He fell asleep during Dan Wetzel's interview just 1 week ago.
The pretzel.
This guy is the...
I'm fully awake now, Tom.
Appreciate that. Well, I would say this with Jalen Ramsey. So I was watching that Hard Knocks episode with my wife, who also once upon a time worked for the Green Bay Press Gazette, has a journalism background. And what struck me was, so Jalen, that whole scene plays out. They go back and forth. He walks out. Artist with the Rams talks him into coming back into the room, and then he gave this kind of longer answer of, here's why I'm not going to answer that question. You're trying to get this and that. This is how I really feel. He gave a much more passionate answer. I turned to my wife and I said, that was probably the answer you're looking for. You were just looking for a little bit more color to it. I mean, there's always something difficult about this, because when you don't ask the questions, when you get kind of a non-answer and you don't follow up on it, then you run the risk of everybody criticizing you for, you didn't press for an answer. You just accepted that terrible answer. You didn't try to get more. And then if you go too far and you ask 10 follow-up questions and the person walks out, then it's, the media is, trying to do this and that. I really do understand it from both sides, because we're taught as reporters to, try to dig deeper, to try to pull something else out. But Jalen Ramsey, who I've talked to before, he's a really interesting guy. He's also really smart in terms of how he deals with the media. He knows what's going to be a thing. He knows what's not. He's careful with his words. In that case, he had a very clear, all right, I'm going to say my piece on what my agent's doing, what the team is doing, and then I want to talk football. But the storyline with him is going to be his contract. It's no different than Dalvin Cook up here in in Minnesota or any number of other players who have a looming contract situation that becomes high profile. It's just, that's, I think, the nature between the media and the players, which is it's not our job to be their friends, and nobody on our side of the table ever expects that they're our friends. I mean, you're interviewing the person. It's a professional setting. I don't fault Jalen Ramsey or any other player, anybody else, from answering questions however they want. It's just, it's our job to ask the questions. And I would give you this story. So Marshawn Lynch, who, of course,
the best
classic media case, right? Super interesting guy, unbelievably smart businessman, but just kind of realized that he could toy with the media, and sometimes he wasn't going to talk. And then when they made him talk, he'd come back and give the same, one-sentence answers. So one time, and I want to say it was after Marshawn held out at the start of Seahawks camp. This was probably circa 2014, 15, somewhere in there. Held out like the first week of camp. He's sitting at his locker, and a lot of the, the local media was kind of reluctant to go up to him because they're like, we don't know what we're getting into here. And so the local media goes up to him. They're asking him questions about like his shoes and his business, just like trying to get him to open up. I'm asking questions about his contract and showing up. And he's just staring at me the entire time. Every time I ask a question, he just stares. Just stares, waits for somebody to ask a question about something he wants to talk about, and then goes back to answering that question. So afterward, the scrum breaks up. Everybody walks away. I look over. I see Marshawn looking at me and kind of chuckling to himself. And I walked up and I just said, hey, I don't know if you remember me, Tom Pelissero, USA Today or whatever I was at the time. Hey, like totally respect you. Not wanting to answer the question. I just got to ask the questions. And he looked at me and he, reached out his hand, shook my hand, just goes, do your job, boss. That's the epitome of the relationship. It's just we both have jobs to do, and that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, and both sides need each other. Both sides need each other. That is something that's taught every training camp. It's like we need the media. The media needs us. This is a relationship. There's always some sort of video shown to try to ease the tension between the two. But boy, it is always an awkward.
I've always wondered this. Do they give you scouting reports on the reporters? Like, this is the person you can trust that's going to be around every day, and this is the person, don't say anything to them because they're going to be a clickbait guy?
Players know.
Yeah, we know the scout.
Player, they don't have the coaches. By the way, if the coaches want to give us a scouting, we'll probably give them one back, actually. And funny you say that, because on Twitter, this is how they you mentioned this last question. I can't thank you enough for joining us. I know you're a busy man. Dalvin Cook, Melvin Ingram. The new holdout with the new CBA is you show up and you don't practice. Is Dalvin Cook doing the same thing as Melvin Ingram? Because it is alleged that the contract negotiations have stopped with him. He said he wanted a deal because if you look at the free agents for the running back market next offseason, it's very similar to the quarterback market this offseason. There is a lot of running backs that are very, very good that are up next year. Dalvin Cook's team saw that, obviously, tried to get ahead of it, wanted to get an extension. It does not happen. Christian McCaffrey did get one. But Melvin Ingram, it's being talked about. He's showing up, but he's just not practicing, because if he shows up, they can't take the money away. It used to be team based. Now it's league wide. If you show up, they can't take your money. You don't practice. How do you see those two situations going? And it's an interesting new holdout, if that is what the new holdout is.
Well, they're in two different situations. This is an important distinction. I'm glad you brought it up. So Melvin Ingram is on a veteran contract. It's his second deal. So he can be fined if the Chargers want to, and they say you're not participating, you're holding in, so to speak, then they can at some point begin to discipline him for conduct detrimental. With Dalvin Cook, because he's on his rookie contract, the same reason that he had to show up on time to camp is why he now also cannot hold in. The Vikings actually, while those contract negotiations were going on, held back Dalvin Cook out of a lot of team drills, gave him a lighter workload before the contract talks broke off yesterday. But if Dalvin Cook does not either report on to training camp on time, which he did, which was not a surprise because he basically had to, but also if he were to withhold his services, not fulfill his contract for any material period of time, which is what the language is in the CBA, then he can lose an accrued season toward free agency.
Jeez.
If he says, I'm not showing up the next 3 days, or I'm not practicing, whatever, I'm not doing this because of my contract, the Vikings then can go, okay, you are now going to be a restricted free agent next March, and instead of getting the franchise tag, which is going to be like $8 or $9 million, we'll just bring you back for 4 or 5 on a restricted tender instead, and now you're 1 year further away from being out from under team control.
Jeez.
That's why Dalvin Cook can't afford to do this. I mean, technically you can do whatever you want, but it is virtually prohibitive under the CBA for guys on rookie contracts to not do their jobs. Ezekiel Elliott was a little different last year because he had a fifth-year option. He was a first-round draft pick. He could afford to lose the accrued season because he still had that fifth year on his contract to earn the accrued season and still be a free agent on time. Dalvin Cook was a second-rounder, so he needs this fourth year to get to free agency or, in all likelihood, a franchise tag. Otherwise, he's a restricted free agent, which would just put him a year further away from getting what he ultimately wants, which is to get paid.
Yeah, well, they got him. They knew that too when they were negotiating with him. By the way, the Minnesota Vikings knew that exactly. Like, you want what? Nah. Well, how about this? Nah. Well, then you can just do this. Then we can just keep you around for another year. Okay, you can do it. And then when those whenever they
don't take it personal.
Hey, don't take it personal. By the way,
Business.
whenever those contracts stop, the conversation stop. What does that mean? They just decided, you know what? We aren't getting anywhere. Let's stop wasting our time. Is that? And then how is Dalvin Cook supposed to not? Like, I don't know how do they decide the conversation stops whenever they have another year here where could get extended? How does that happen?
Well, the thing is, certainly, Pat, they could always restart the negotiation somewhere down the line. But they have worked on this deal with Dalvin Cook's agent for months. I mean, they have had months of conversations, of negotiations, of exchanging proposals on a long-term deal that would make Dalvin Cook one of the higher-paid running backs in the NFL. But everything needs to come to a head eventually, which is exactly what happened yesterday. There was basically, all right, by this time, we either are doing a deal or let's just play this thing out and we'll try again next offseason. It got to that point. Dalvin didn't take the deal, which, again, would have put him on the higher-paid running backs in the NFL. He's betting on his worth in the long haul. If he stays healthy this year and has a huge, monster year, maybe it pays off for him next offseason. But basically the Vikings got to a stopping point where it was, okay, we haven't gotten a deal done. We're not going to carry this into the regular season. We got to get you ramped up in camp. We're moving on, and that's where it stands now.
Well, Tom, I don't know if we have that list of free agent running backs next year, but it is like 12 deep, and there is James Conner. He could potentially have.
And that franchise tag, if the cap is only about $175 million, is only going to be around $8-point-something million. That is a low tag number that is going to make teams more likely to apply the tag. It makes guys more tradable. Potentially, and it also sets a lower bar for a contract extension negotiation than you otherwise would if the tag number were upwards of $10 million like it was this year.
And that's a position where you get beat up. Any day could be your last day. Running back is that. 45 minutes after the hour here, Tom Pelissaro from the NFL Network. I can't thank you enough, Tom. Incredible stuff, Tom.
Anytime.
Is he older than
you?
To the earbuds. Is he older than you?
How old are you, Tom?
39.
Yeah, a couple years older than me. I'm 36 right now.
Tom, you look like
great.
You're 12, dude.
When AJ got into the league, he already looked like he was 30. He already looked like
That's
a
great.
full-on
Ladies
adult
and gentlemen, Tom Pelissaro. Let's get to a break. We're back on the other side, wrapping up the show. Tom knows his stuff there. Oh, yeah. He's been in that basement for 6 months just studying the NFL in the NFL Network. This is the Pat McAfee Show. We're wrapping up Thursday, August 20th, hour 2 on the other side. You're the best.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's me what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet, maneuver in silence to let them in, chalk up their body, another one body, this is how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, I can stay on the go. I can't play with the pros and act like a rookie, so they overlook me. Then I double up again under their nose. None of them cold, they just got lucky but never adapted, so I'm to the one if it's coming to.
Since I made Adam Cole's soul leave his body, we got 12 days to get ready for another match with what some people are calling the next best wrestler of all time. I ain't worried about that, though. I eat that fucker for breakfast. 51 minutes after the hour, we got a hard out coming for the radio rather quickly. Corey Graves of the WWE will join us in about 9 minutes. Since we are a live show and we're potentially the only source of information for some people throughout their day, we do something called News with Nick to update people on what's going on in the world, the real world, outside the sports world. Let's head it over to our Italian friend. He looked great in a suit last night on NXT, although WWE refused to acknowledge his existence. What's up, Nick?
Thank you, Pat. I don't need to be tagged. I'm not seeking attention. Anyone could have stepped up. AQ Shipley could have stepped up. The round mound of gout, Zeke could have stepped up. He chose to stay seated. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code PATM. Alexei Navalny, the man seen as one of Russian President Vladimir Putin's top critics in the country, was poisoned. This is allegedly the second time while traveling from Siberia to Moscow.
By the way, he survived the first poison attempt, which means Vladimir Putin might have lost his fastball. We'll see how he goes for the second one. T's and P's, everybody involved over there, obviously.
I really have the cure then.
Flint, Michigan residents are set to receive $600 million in a settlement from the state of Michigan. Now, Billy Tubes did some math. There are 95,000 people that live in Flint. That works out to about $6,000 per person.
Okay, here we go. Wow. I don't know where Michigan's getting that money from, but finally we're looking out for Flint a little bit.
Of time.
I don't know how long Flint had to have no water for them to be looked after by Michigan. But this is what Michigan's doing. Maybe the Lions will get back in good grace with Calvin Johnson.
Bingo.
Maybe Michigan's the biggest comeback state of all time in 2020 somehow.
That's what we're looking for.
Seems unlikely. 15 seconds until the end of this show. We can't thank you enough. Chris Ballard, Tom Pelissar, Darius Butler, AJ Hawk. From all of us to all of you, thank you for listening. We'll see you mañana. I'm sure the show that's on after this will be much better than this one. All right, YouTube, what the fuck's going on here? That guy getting poisoned, by the way, for the second time. There's some people who live real-life movies, and Putin's one of them. His life is just a movie, just out there poisoning people. Then, obviously, you got Jim Kong out there doing his shit. He fed a missile to one of his guys that came after him. I mean, these humans that are up here on top of the world are just ridiculous individuals. It's like an Austin Powers movie, these motherfuckers made.
Yeah, Kim Jong-faked death just to find out who was against him and then came back and probably executed all those people, too.
Yeah, who was happy that I died?
Yeah.
Who? If you see a smile, I'd like a picture. That's like, who's... Shiano, whenever he was coaching for the Buccaneers. But he was coaching for the Buccaneers.
Oh, yeah, he's waiting in the tunnel.
After a preseason game, he was waiting in the tunnel, hiding behind poles to see which players were smiling on the way into the locker room. And then he wrote their names down and chewed them out because they were happy that they lost, even if it was a preseason game. We're here. Are they keeping score? Are they keeping score? We are here to compete. The other day, we were bashing baseball's unwritten rules, and I said football doesn't really have many unwritten rules unless it's like with hitting each other and like looking out for each other. I guess there is one unwritten rule, and it does revolve around Shiano, and a guy tweeted it to me, and I forget his name, so I apologize for this. When the quarterback takes a knee, game's over. Like that, I think that's an unwritten rule, right? Shiano came in and said, no, we're diving in motherfuckers' legs here. Fourth quarter, we got to vary
Still
this
time
thing.
on the clock.
How does that conversation go? Like with grown men, like, hey, you know that thing that you guys have done probably 10 years in this league? We don't do it anymore. Okay, you're trying to swipe that ball out from underneath.
Cut the shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see what D lineman had to do that. Like, was it? Did he sub young guys in? It would have been tough to get some vets to do that. Like, all right, yeah, cool. That's not happening.
Oh, but he would have ran your ass out of town so quick, AJ.
I would have been diving. I would have been jumping at knees. I 100% would have been on board. I'm a company man, but I just wonder. I would have loved to see some of the guys not do it.
Yeah, you're a company guy for sure.
I am.
Has that ever worked? The swipe at the end of the game?
Backyard football, we had this kid who couldn't, for some reason, he had a slow get off, to his, from the ground to taint there. We used to be able to poke that thing out whenever he was halfway up there. I remember that. His name was PJ. He had no
sub
fucking
PJ
shot.
out.
Yeah, PJ
Slow
was not,
PJ.
he was never on my team. I didn't draft his ass. He couldn't run, he couldn't catch, so they had to play him on the line, too. So, I mean, he was really a liability for the teams we played against, but that was the only time I've ever seen it work. I don't think I've ever seen that move work. It's always talked about, though. It's always like, I'll be able to get that from the snap, and I don't think I've ever seen it work. Anything. There was a time where I almost had to go and, by the way, take a knee. Miami Dolphins.
As QB?
Yeah, at quarterback. We had Clipboard Jesus. What's his name?
Whitehurst.
Yeah. Charlie Whitehurst. Legend. Have you ever talked to this dude?
No.
Were you were on the team when we went down to Miami?
Yeah.
Remember, we had, I forget what quarterback was in ahead of him, gets hurt, out.
Painter?
No, this was after Painter. Hasselbeck was hurt already going into the game. Damn. We signed somebody. Luck was hurt. Hasselbeck got hurt.
Freeman?
No, that was after. We brought him in afterward with the white kid, the Lindley. Remember the last game?
Lindley,
He was playing for the we had There was a moment where I almost had to go into a game because Charlie Whitehurst had full sniper on his hamstring, and he dropped the ball inbounds. So he was supposed to just kill time. It was like fourth quarter. He rolls right, sprinting away. Maybe just throw it away. Do whatever you got to do. Instead, he drops the ball inbounds, okay, blows out his hamstring down. We recover the ball. We lose 13, 14 yards or whatever. So now I got to go out and punt or whatever. I'm like, thank you for backing us up in this thing. This is awesome. And then he, on the sideline, can't even stand up. His entire hamstring just went from boom all the way up to his, and he had to go out there to take a knee after that. Defense gets a stop. We get the ball back. Now we just got to kneel it out. And they were worried he wasn't going to go out there. I get a message like, hey, you might have to go out and take this snap. And I'm like, oh, are we serious right now? And Ndamukong Suh's right over there, right? I'm going to have to stare down Ndamukong Suh and do
ready
this?
or what?
Oh, I was going to go out full, Cadence. I mean, it was going to go, I was going to go full. Take a knee. There's no problem there. You want me to drop back after I saw 3 quarterbacks just get murdered? I am not that guy. And then the next week, Tuesday press conference, I'm at home. It's going into the last week now. We have no quarterbacks that are healthy on our roster. Lockdown, Hasselbeck down, Whitehurst down. So they signed Freeman and Lindley. But before they signed that, Chuck had his press conference on Tuesday. I'm sitting at home watching it. And that was when they asked Chuck about the quarterback situation. He said, we're going to leave no stone unturned. We're going to bring guys in, and we might have a package even for McAfee or whatever. I'm watching. I'm like, what the fuck did you just say? We got 1 week left until an offseason, and you want me? I just saw 4 guys die, and now I'm going in there to die. So the next day I walk by him in the hallway. I'm like looking at him. I'm like, you got anything to say to me, man? Like, I saw your press conference yesterday. He's like, good morning, Pat. Like, let's have a week or whatever. I'm like, yeah, we will have a week if we find out if am I taking snaps? He goes, listen, we didn't have a quarterback. Now we got 2. And neither of them know our offense show, which should be a big. You remember that week?
Oh, yeah.
That week, Chuck Pagano told us, don't judge practice, okay? They might not complete a shingle ball. Don't judge. We're going to get to Sunday, and we're going to win.
Wait, were the quarterbacks in the room when he said this?
No.
Okay.
While they were doing like they were signed on Wednesday.
They got there like Wednesday.
Wow.
And who started?
So Freeman started, but
Freeman from Tampa Bay.
Yep.
But he wasn't at Tampa Bay. He was on like a something Comets in New York, Staten Island Comets or something.
Was
that.
he in the what league?
It was like maybe the MFL. I'm not 100% sure what FL he was in, but he was still in shape. We signed him. He starts. Then it gets to a minute 50 left in the half, and we have the ball. Freeman's down. Okay, so now Lindley's in. Nobody told me
that you're third string.
Nobody told me that he was only taught 2-minute drill. So they taught Freeman the rest of the thing. They taught Lindley 2-minute drill. So they focused on 2 different things. So they were going to tag team it. I thought Freeman gets hurt. So I go up to Hasselbeck. I'm like, am I one fucking Ryan Lindley hit away from, am I going in this game? And he's like, no, Freeman's good. He's not doing 2-minute. I was like, whew. I mean, I was having a roller coaster. We got the win. We won that game, and that might be the greatest team win in the history of the NFL. Quarterbacks didn't even know the plays, had to change plays on the field. It was like backyard football. It was a wild time to be alive, and it was almost my death date. It was almost the day I died.
When you're having a season like that,
Chuck Pagano.
Hey, legit.
Yeah, seriously.
Hey, he does not get credit for that win.
Nah, that's I don't even think I remember that.
They were signed on Wednesday, those guys, and 0 completions on Wednesday's practice. I think maybe 0 completions on Thursday.
And he really told you guys, don't judge practice.
Don't judge. Listen,
go out there and do your job.
Just do your judge. We need you even more now than ever to do your job. Do not judge. We're going to get him to Sunday, and we're going to win a game. And Chuck was always incredibly optimistic in those meetings. Like, even when things seemed to be crashing all around him, Chuck was always just like ready to put on a show up there. And that week, there was a lot of rooms looking at him like, we got no food. We got no quarterback. Our fucking pets' heads are falling off. This is the last game of the season for sure. We got nothing going on. Chuck said, we're going to go win. We're going to get a win. And we did. We fucking did. And I think Freeman threw a tutter, and I think Ryan threw a touchdown. I mean, we had quite a day. Very different from that. Let's go to the wrestling world. Because in 2 days, on August 22nd, I will be making my WWE debut with NXT TakeOver 30. SummerSlam weekend is coming up, and on Saturday night, WWE Network, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the show will begin. I have no idea when I go out there and punt Adam Cole's head, but I am excited to do it. To talk with us about that, commentator for Friday Night SmackDown, a man who's been in the wrestling business for a long, long time. Some people call him a scumbag. I say he's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Corey Graves.
Yeah, Corey!
Attaboy, Corey.
Good morning, gentlemen.
How are you, Corey? Where are you at? You hold up right now in a hotel, or you?
I am. I'm in the WWE bubble right now.
Well, I like that a lot. I'll be getting in there here in the next, I think, 12 hours to lock in there for TakeOver. I can't wait for it. You've been in wrestling business since you were a teen, is that right?
Yeah, way too long. More than half of my life at this point.
How old were you then when you got started?
I was a freshman in high school when I started training, and I actually missed my senior prom to do a wrestling show in front of about 21 people.
That's commitment. That's got you to the top of the mountain, though, here. You obviously go from wrestler to commentator. I'm 2 days out from my first match. Some things I should keep in mind. Mark Henry told me no cocktails, attack in Watcher 6, because obviously the Undisputed Era. For you, what should I be thinking mindset-wise in preparation so, I don't embarrass my entire family out there on Saturday?
Your wind is everything. We talked about this. I've been trying my best to impart some advice to you. Whether or not you've taken it, I don't know. Thank God we've got Hawk there, keeping you in check.
Okay.
Thank you, Corey.
No.
Because I think he realizes that you are way out of your league in this instance. However, as your friend, I am fully supportive. But you're about to step in the ring with one of the best in the business, and I am very excited to see how it plays out.
Is there anything you can do in 2 days that you've learned to really get your cardio? Is there anything that makes you a marathon man in 2 days? Is there anything like that?
No, my cardio always sucked. I was never good at cardio. I was just saying that to you, so maybe you could do better. Also, never discount the value of a well-placed thumb to the eye.
Ooh, there's something that I like to hear. I don't need to talk about the problems, okay? Like, Chris, I don't need to talk about the problems. Let's talk about the answers. Thumb to the eye, good answer there.
Thumb to the eye. You've got AJ Hawk and you got DB going to be at ringside potentially.
Damn right.
Teach him how to run a nice little interference, a distraction. Keep the referee occupied. Then you can operate.
Now we're talking. You're right, Corey. We know the referee, don't we, for your match?
It hasn't officially been, but I have been pitching hard for one particular ref. And now, granted, my word means absolutely nothing in this entire thing, but I have been pitching hard for one particular ref who has a great tan. And by the way, they wouldn't give me confirmation on whether or not he was the ref or not, because they know that I am very likely to send gifts to him today, tomorrow, Saturday.
Sunday.
By the way, rest of maybe even next week if he wants.
All through 2020?
Hey, whatever he wants. People know that I am not above that at all. I am not above that at all.
Nothing wrong with a good bribe. I mean, that's how you get ahead in this business. I completely support it wholeheartedly.
AJ, have you ever seen that many tattoos on a human being?
No, I have not, but I'm sure people have asked you which one hurts the most. Like, does the Adam's apple hurt the worst?
Throat kind of sucked. I would actually say the side of my neck hurt a little bit worse. But, yeah, I mean, none of it's fun. I don't get tattooed because I enjoy it. I guess it's a bit of an addiction. And every time I decide I'm going to add on to something, about 15 minutes in, I go, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself now? Because as I get older, they seem to hurt worse. So I don't recommend it.
There's one like half tattoo there on your shin that I asked about, and I said, what was the meaning behind that one? And you said you never asked the artist what the meaning was.
Not really sure where he was going with it. I was working in a tattoo shop and decided to give him sort of free range to do what he wanted, and then the guy fell off the face of the planet. Like, he just didn't show up for work one day, and nobody ever heard from him again. And I'm not entirely sure what his plan was or where he was going, so I can't go to another artist and say, hey, this is what we're looking for. It's just kind of like this weird outline of God knows what.
Can you show it? Because this is potentially that artist's last piece of work.
Potentially. It's based off of Superman Red Sun, the comic book, where Superman landed in Russia instead of America. And
it might have got poisoned.
All the values. It was just kind of interesting to me.
Hey, you can't go to Russia. Can't go to Russia.
No, not now. No. But that was many moons ago, and it will never be completed.
When you're commentating on SmackDown, how do you view your job? Just to be as entertaining as possible, informative as possible? What is your mindset going in there?
It depends, because I don't think people realize how long 2 hours is when you have to talk constantly. A lot of times it's trying to my job, is to inform and let people know what's going on as the color commentator, give it a little bit of depth. But, to talk, and more so than just an episode of SmackDown, like we used to do these 5, 6, 7 hour pay-per-views at WrestleMania, and I'm calling the whole thing. Sometimes I just got to entertain myself. I'm trying to make myself laugh, trying to make Michael Cole laugh, which is no easy task, because he's a real life news person. So he can remain stoic. So if I crack him, I feel like it was a success.
Yeah, well, I mean, just like with our show, some things are for me. I've said, like, hey, like, listen, I don't care if the fans like it. This is 100% for me at this point. Sometimes you got to get like that. I mean, at some point, AJ is very intrigued. AJ, by the way, getting baptized into the wrestling business right now, like getting a chance to really experience it. I'm seeing his eyes get open to why people love wrestling so much. Ain't that right, AJ?
Yeah, I am. Hey, everyone is super nice there as well.
Yes.
It's an added, like a nice,
except for Undisputed Era
byproduct. Yeah, everyone else, like supporting staff, other wrestlers, everyone has been really cool. But Corey, I wanted to ask you, from your time wrestling and as a commentator, did they ever present any storylines to you or anything out there that you didn't feel comfortable and you could look Vince in the eye and say, "Nah, I'm good, not going to do it"?
I never really had any sort of issues like that. Also, I'm not too particularly proud in general, so I have no problem making a fool of myself. I've heard stories of people that have shut things down because they weren't comfortable. Or
how many people, though, really have the power to say no?
Everybody has the power to say no. It's just a matter of whether or not
you're
in a position and you're going to get more opportunities based on what you. It's like any business. You know, when you're the new guy or you're getting your first chance, you may only get one chance. So it's up to you to knock it out of the park. If you choose not to partake in it, that doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to get another chance. But obviously, if you're a top tier guy, you have a little more influence on what you do or do not do, as opposed to someone who's just trying to kind of make their mark.
I don't know if you saw us last night. Darius Butler almost jumped over the ropes and beat up a couple dudes last night.
I figured DB was having flashbacks to his hockey watching days.
Oh,
he wanted
exactly.
Hey, good call. NHL Darius. I completely forgot.
Big hockey guy.
We haven't talked enough NHL today. We'll dive into that tomorrow, I guess. How has the hockey fanhood been? It's been a long time, obviously.
How's your favorite team doing?
How's your favorite team doing?
You know, like you said, Boston.
Yeah. Just swept.
Go Boston, go Bruins.
Next round. Yeah.
We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll get into it tomorrow.
All I know is I met DB very briefly, but the one thing that was for sure was I could feel his hockey fandom fading through the room.
Is that a 6 overtime night or 5 overtime?
It was 6 overtime afternoon.
It was. By the way, that afternoon became a late night very quickly. You almost died from retribution. Member almost hit you in the head with a bat a couple weeks ago. Are you okay? I mean, we were worried about your mental health, even though you weren't hit physically. We were worried about your mental health, that somebody in a hoodie and all black almost literally ended your entire career.
It is very difficult to run in dress shoes. This is something that I had just learned at 36 years of age. I had never attempted to run anywhere in dress shoes. I try to avoid running at all costs these days. But to do it in dress shoes while being chased by a psychopath with a baseball bat, it was not a lot of fun. And I didn't realize how close it came to actually striking me in the head until I saw it back on that Friday night.
Hey, I don't want to say it did you any favors athletically, but I'm happy you got out of the way with that bat. I mean, you were very close to getting beheaded out there. As if
I'm basically Neo in the Matrix is what I learned about myself. I didn't realize it, but I've got the ability to dodge and evade like a very tattooed ninja.
You guys have SummerSlam this weekend, obviously, on Sunday. There's a SummerSlam weekend, the second biggest weekend of, or maybe number one. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention enough to the SummerSlam card because I got a lot of problems myself that I got to worry about. What should people be looking forward to?
With Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era. Before we get to SummerSlam this Sunday, also streaming live on WWE Network, I saw you read. It was very eloquent. It was very professional.
Thank you.
We unveil or debut Friday Night SmackDown in the WWE Thunderdome, which your follow-up questions I don't have answers to because I have no idea what it's going to look like. All I can say is that there are people higher up, much higher up than I am, that I've talked to and asked about it from like the TV end of things, and apparently it's going to be pretty mind-blowing. They've taken over the Amway Center in Orlando and completely overhauled the inside. They're touting this as a WWE fan experience like we've never seen before. There's going to be virtual fans, so your faces will be visible. Apparently it's similar to the way the NBA does things, but better.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I'm very curious to see what this actually looks like. And I honestly don't know. And I'm kind of excited in that you've been in this business long enough that you've seen everything and you've done everything. And it's just you're rehashing a lot of things. So to see people that have been here much longer than I actually excited just because it's new and it's different. I'm really stoked to see how it turns out tomorrow night.
That's the Thunderdome debuts tomorrow night, Friday Night SmackDown on Fox.
That's correct. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which again is going to be the first night of the big weekend where we see NXT TakeOver XXX 30,
Bingo,
featuring Pat McAfee's untimely demise at the hands of the Undisputed Era.
Whoa!
This fucking guy.
This guy. This guy. What a scumbag.
Fucking worse than Adam Cole almost.
I mean, get over it over there. And then Sunday is SummerSlam, obviously. Big
SummerSlam.
night.
Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. Can't wait for that. I don't get to call it because it's a Raw match, but I'm stoked to see that. Braun Strowman against the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. It's going to be stacked, man. It's a good weekend to be a wrestling fan.
It is. It's a great weekend. Great weekend to be a wrestling fan because you're getting a chance to watch the next biggest thing in the business make his debut.
Hell yeah! So, let me ask you this, Pat.
Yeah,
if you do manage to dispatch of Adam Cole on Saturday, have you made plans? Because if you knock off one of the top guys in NXT, you can't just, leave. You can't just go, did it, done, going to bail.
Says who?
Are there aspirations on the horizon?
What I do, I retired from the NFL after making another Pro Bowl, and was like, well,
all pro.
Punter of the decade.
I'll see you there.
Fair? Okay, I stand corrected.
But I will say this, okay? I have always wanted to be a part of this, right? This is something I've always, and you and I have talked about this, I think, since the first day that we've met, because Corey is from 3 minutes from where my house is. I'm literally right next to Aaron Donald is right here in the East Hills of Pittsburgh. I'm right here in Pittsburgh, and then Corey Graves is right here. We're on this town that's just the East Hills of Pittsburgh. It's very, very close over there. And ever since I got to talk to you, I learned that you were training in high school. I'm like, man, if I would have fucking known that any of this was happening, I think this is potentially something I would have done. And I've always wanted to do this, always wanted to do this. And to be honest, the only way I look at anything, and this might be the NFL mindset, and it might be because the way my brain is, I'm just worried about what's next. Okay, what is next for me? Okay, is it a meeting? Okay, that is all I'm worried about. I got to be at this meeting at 7:30. Then when I'm in that meeting, it's done. Okay, what's next? Oh, it's a lift. Okay, I got this. Even in this world that I'm in right now, it's what's next? Okay, we got a Daily Show. All right, I'm going to fucking worry about the Daily Show right now. Then what do I got next? And to do that, I think that is the only way you can do a multitude of things and still feel as if you're in the present. So I haven't even thought about what the fuck is going to go on. All I'm thinking about right now is after this show, I know that next I have an incredible cardio session back there in that gym that I have that I'm going to have to hopefully knock out. So I'm not even thinking about the future. And obviously, I'm hoping to not even use my cardio. I'm planning on this thing ending within the first minute or two.
I like it. I think it's good to set the bar high, set your goals. You kicked his head off, a couple of weeks ago. It was quite impressive.
You saw it.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't watch it over and over again on Twitter.
Hey, me too.
However,
I watched it over and over.
It's a different circumstance, man. It's live. It's worldwide broadcast, and you're in there with one of the best. And it's going to be. I'm excited to see it. I might actually even show up. I might just come to full scale and just watch as a fan.
Hey, I want to let you know, I walked into that NXT arena, okay, after getting booed out there by everybody. I feel like that's potentially my arena now that I think about it.
Feels like it.
You know what I mean? It feels like it's my arena over there. I'm joking.
There you go. I like it. I mean, if they won't let me in, I'll just roll in as part of your entourage.
Hey, it's hard to break into this group, okay? We got 28 years of NFL experience, and then we got an Italian who does not have much to lose, who will throw his hands, which are cinder blocks, by the way, if need be. And WWE just cut him out of all the photos. Corey, all of the photos this guy Nick got just cut out completely from. We would love to have you be a part of our entourage. I can't wait to see what you do in the Thunderdome. I'm excited for your brain to be on display with your mouth with the Thunderdome. What is going to come out of your mouth? Nobody knows.
No one knows. Probably some Bullet Farm references, a lot of Mad Max deep cuts, and potentially Michael Cole with a mohawk.
Excuse me?
That's all I'm saying. If there's any justice in the world, Michael Cole will show up in the Thunderdome in leathers with a mohawk.
Hey, does Michael Cole care about the show at all if he doesn't show up with a mohawk and in leathers?
That's a valid question.
We're wondering.
I even volunteered to dress like Tina Turner, just for continuity purposes. And we'll see how that works out. I don't have high hopes for that one. But if I show up dressed like Tina Turner in Beyond Thunderdome and he doesn't, then I'm going to look like a fool. But that's kind of, my role, and I've embraced it.
Hey, before we let you go, I would like to let you know, yesterday Mark Henry told us that he squatted 1,000 pounds and deadlifted 924 pounds with no straps. Would you like to tell us any incredible feats of strength that you have accomplished, Corey?
I have no feats of strength. At one point, I was kind of strong, and then I stopped wrestling and decided to give up on the whole fitness aspect of my life. So, and now we see, whenever I'm being chased by a man with a baseball bat, I'm a step slower than I once was.
Well, almost lost your head, but you will never lose that wit of yours.
I used to be an all right baseball player. There we go. We'll leave it at that.
Pittsburgh Pirates stink, dude. Take that hat off. You should not be supporting them. You're giving that family money. They do not deserve money. They should sell the damn team, Corey.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm just a fan. I like to be a fan of the players and the team and not the organization.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Calvin Johnson.
Yeah. Calvin Johnson. That's what Calvin Johnson's doing right now. He's a fan of the players and not a fan of the organization.
Hates him.
Okay, good. All right, Corey, we'll see you in Thunderdome tomorrow night. Can't wait for it, and I appreciate you joining us, brother.
Good luck on Saturday, man. If you need anything, I'm just a text away.
Believe me, there's going to be a lot of text sent within the next time. Because right now, I'm too dumb to even think about it. I would assume night before, laying my head down, there's going to be, I don't know, probably 7,000 questions. Like, okay, now we're here. What?
What am I doing? What do I have to do?
I think I can figure it out.
Listen, if you want, I'll send you step-by-step instructions on how to hide brass knuckles in your boot or your trunks.
Bingo.
Send that text now. Ladies and gentlemen, commentator for SmackDown, which is debuting the Thunderdome tomorrow night on Fox, and also SummerSlam on Sunday, which is following NXT TakeOver 30, which I will be booting a man's face to the moon. Ladies and gentlemen, Corey Graves. Thank you, Corey.
Hey, Corey.
Hey, he's a good dude. He is literally from, like, right here. Like, right here. I'm from here. He's from right there.
Tough to be a baseball fan.
In Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
I don't understand how he did. He must, like, be one of those guys who hates just loves misery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just loves
Foxy.
misery.
Yeah.
It's like the people in New York that picked the Jets and the Mets over the Yankees and the Giants. You know, like, they had a choice there to pick, and they chose the losing teams all the time. What's that? You're doing math there in your head. I saw you add them up.
I'm trying to figure out. Whenever I meet somebody from, like, anywhere near New York, I always say, Jets, Giant, what are you? And they have very strong opinions, one way or the other.
And they grew up in a place where they could have picked the team that wins all the time, the Yankees, which, by the way, if they're of our age, that is the team that won all the time. But instead, they went the other way because they like a challenge or whatever. I'm like, okay, I agree. I like that. I respect that from you. But I also just learned that you don't enjoy being happy either. Like, I feel like you potentially choose to be miserable on a regular basis, and we should think about changing that.
Well, and they're friends, too, because, half of their buddies are on the opposite side of it, so they're just getting shit 24/7. That's why all the time.
Well, you're probably what you grew up around, aren't you? Like, whatever your parents and brothers and sisters may be fans of, don't you think that has a huge influence?
Fanhood's
for sure.
passed down.
For sure.
I saw the King of Staten Island, and I think you can make your own decision.
How was it? I haven't seen that movie. I don't know.
Oh, it's wonderful.
I think it's a good movie. First 30 minutes, a bit drawn out. We get it. Pete Davidson sucks as a human in the movie. Like 30 minutes of just him looking despicable.
Then Bill Burr comes in and drives it home.
The movie starts when Bill
I'll
Burr
watch
gets
it.
there. If you go to when Bill Burr arrives, you just have to know that Pete Davidson's a scumbag. Okay, like let's set the character role. Let's go ahead and
scumbag how?
Just scumbag.
Like
a
he's
bad
just like
person.
Like he tattoos little kids. Like a little kid walked up and he tattoos them, and they literally could have done that and then had Bill Burr knock on the door.
But instead, for 30 minutes, they hammered home the fact that he's a bad guy.
Yeah,
it's like we get it. You're a bad guy. Just no work ethic, like that type of thing. But good movie.
Great movie.
Good movie, I'd say.
Hell of a stash on Bill Burr too.
Hell of a stash.
Yeah.
Not like that mustache stooge last night.
That guy sucked.
What's his name? Bobby O'Fish.
Who cares?
Oh yeah, you were tough on him.
Well, that
mustache stooge.
That thing was staring at me. Ty wanted me to. Ty is pretty upset, I think, that I didn't drop a big fat stooge to anybody. But to be honest, there's nobody that was big or fat there. I would like to let Ty know that stooge and sellout was going to come. Ty.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy hearing stooge get let loose out there in that thing?
Oh, yeah, big time. How couldn't you love it?
So Foxy's just not going to cut to you at all. I mean, that is just what Foxy
I probably
decided.
could have stayed in there, made it a little easier.
Oh, you're out here.
Here we go.
Oh,
This camera's turning around here.
I thought you were in the theater. I thought
We're
we had
coming for him. Almost.
Hold on, the camera's coming. No.
Here you go.
Looks like
And
R2-D2.
3, and you're in. Ty, you think Stooge flew last night? You enjoyed the way it was?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Mustache Stooge, I think, is a good one.
That was the best. Anytime you can put like a qualifier on it before that and make it really personal,
Can't beat it.
I got a lot of tweets telling me that Ty's going to be mad that or Nick was also going to be mad that I didn't call anybody a big fat stooge, but I didn't think it played in the particular case.
Well, it also it doesn't play if the guy's not fat. You know, you can't just be out here calling anyone a big fat stooge.
Are there any big fat stooges around you right now? Oh,
Ty. I didn't say it.
You said it. You actually did.
I didn't say it. I was trying. Were you talking about this guy?
No, I didn't. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. That guy's
That's
got a
where your
chain.
brain went
That guy's
to.
got a chain on.
Icy.
That's Papa Soak.
Hey, did you see that chain?
Yeah. As I walked in, bum.
I'm a big fan of that chain. He bought that this week. That's Big Papa Silk right there. I actually sent my link because I believe that store has a lot of chains, and I was like, hey, I need a new chain. I can't wear that one. That one's too big for me. I need one in between mine and that one. The store's been closed like every other day to do physical distancing because it was like in a mall or whatever, so every other store's closed. We haven't been able to get there. Zito might have put the place out of business by buying their biggest chain.
They're
That's
good.
what
They
I
don't
know.
have to show up for another month. They're good.
Can we pay the bills? We can. Who got it? A guy named Zito, Jose, Big Papa Soak. That chain is nasty, though.
Awesome.
You should see him when he's shirtless, D-Bud. I mean,
Never take
Oh, yeah. Next to the pool. We'll see it today.
Bust down
Hell
Cuban.
yeah.
We're out of here. 2 days left until the big fight. I can't thank you guys enough for watching. Big shout out to AJ and Darius for last night, for today. Connor, great work. Zito, Jason, Frank. Diggs and Ty were hanging out in the theater in the bullpen the entire time. We should have won to you guys. We'll do that mañana. We got big fight week. 2 days before I get in the ring. Foxy, I hope you had a great day. Billy Tubes, Mr. Mansuri. From all of us in this drug lord mansion to all of you, have an incredible Thursday. We will see you mañana. Tomorrow we have PJ Fleck on the show. Woo! And we have
Michael Jordan?
No, we have new president of Washington football team.
Oh, right?
Jason
Wright.
Jason Wright.
Oh, nice.
Former player, now president of a fucking operation. I don't care what color they are. That is a
Nice.
fucking incredible
Seems like a
thing.
great dude,
The
too.
big
Nice.
storyline has been, they have
Sharp dude.
a black president. It's like, also, former player is now a president of a fucking team. That is where I'm pumped up about.
Yeah.
Good for him. Can't wait to talk
Well,
to
I'm
him.
pumped up about Black Park. Definitely pumped up about that.
I think it's massive.
Yeah, it's huge.
I do believe it's massive.
Huge.
My
It's
first,
crazy. This is the first one, 2020, but
That was
huge.
very interesting because the media was making such a big story out of him being black. I was like,
Yeah.
well, there had to be one before. And they're like, no, first black guy.
First one.
I'm like, ooh, damn. Former player, first black president in a culture that is trying to rebuild while still existing.
Yeah.
Tall task. Tall task for him. But if he's a player and he played football, he's used to adversity, baby. He's going to get in
Hey,
there.
have
and
you heard
get
him in
the
his interviews? He actually gave a shout out to Kevin Warren when they mentioned him. Oh, maybe one of the first black president. Is he the president?
Commissioner?
No. Jason
Right.
Wright. What is he?
Yeah,
President.
President.
Yeah.
He's the president. He said, well, to be fair, he said Kevin Warren basically did this job without the title in Minnesota before me. And I was like, ooh, the Kevin Warren that runs the Big Ten now.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want to pump him up too much.
Well, no, we should bump him up because
We can ask him about him.
Old Kevin Warren had no fucking job.
No chance.
No
It'd
chance.
be
at
good
all.
to ask Jason, hey, what do you think? What would you have done if you took Kevin Warren, the job he has now?
And you know exactly what he's going to say. He said, well, I don't know all the details about what he has to do. I am currently focused on turning around the thing. But I love that the next player is now the president from a business side of things. Like, that is good news. And I think he completed business school early. Like, this guy,
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk to him. Pumped to talk to him. Can't wait to talk to PJ Fleck. He will get me ready to run through a wall before fight week. That guy has so much energy at all times. I can't wait to hear how Minnesota is handling this because they were on a run last year as well. Everybody talks Ohio State. Minnesota, I believe, is currently ranked in the top 10 right now.
Oh, yeah, there's 6, I think, last season when they played Penn State at
And
home.
they haven't said much, right?
PJ came out and said, like, he's asked 30-some players, and they all say they support shutting down and postponing. Something like that.
Oh, so he's-
allegedly he's basically on the other side of the coin, saying, "Oh no, everyone here kind of our players on campus kind of agree with the decision that has been made."
Oh, can't wait to talk to him then.
Wow.
Excited to hear that because that is going to generate.
Allegedly, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but he definitely said something like that.
All right, let's find out if the man who fell asleep during Dan Wetzel the Pretzel's interview and the man who had no idea Tom Pelissaro interviewed him 12 years ago. Let's hear if he's accurate with PJ Fleck. That'll be tomorrow. Plus Jason Wright. We got a big day, plus a fight on Saturday night on WWE Network. We can't thank you enough for following along. If you enjoyed the show, please tell a friend. If you did not, just act like this never fucking happened. We're on the road to 1 million. Subscribe now. Cheers. Have a great Thursday.